Commissioner Thomas please lead us in our invocation, please?
Sure. Followed by a pledge of allegiance.
Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, this time we can come together and do our county's business. We're just thankful to live in a land where citizens take a vital role and are the most important part of our government. We thank you for each one that is here tonight participating and those watching at home. I just ask your blessings upon each of my fellow commissioners. May we just do our best to put our will aside and thy will be done and do what's best for the citizens of this county. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Huh? Oh, thank you, Randy. Next is our swearing-in ceremony. First, I'd like to say thank you to former Chairman Randy Merritt. He did a great job running our meetings, and we really appreciate everything you've given to our county, and thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce Judge Walker. And if the two, Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Harden, if you would come down to the front. Commissioner Harden, you'll be sworn into office first, and followed by Commissioner Thomas.
You do them separate, don't you, Jill?
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Do you have family? Okay.
Thank you. I enjoyed being on the...
One last reading, Chairman Merritt.
Thank you.
Ready to end. That I will love and faithfully
Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. Remarks. I just want to say that for the last year, I felt really blessed being on the county commission. It's already feel like it's an honor just to be here, and then for the citizens of the county who are giving me confidence to be able to sit there. I feel it's an even greater honor for my peers who have also voted for me to be the chairman. And I'm looking ahead to a good year and a great year, and I'm excited about it. And glad you can all be here.
Duties of the office of Vice Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners. To the best of my ability. So help me God. Thank everyone for coming out, and I just do my best to continue serving the county. I appreciate every one of you guys and the role you play in the government, and then we all just continue to work together.
Thank you.
Whoever's on the campus board next time, make sure Jill counts all those votes. We had a race. Yes. Thank you.
All right, Chairman Harden, the meeting is yours from here on.
All right, there again, like I said, we're glad to have everybody here tonight. Ask commissioners if there's any modification to be made to the agenda, any changes?
Yes, there is. I have 4 add-on items, 5 add-on items under my time.
Okay, so you're going to add 5 add-on items
Right.
under the general. Motion to approve the agenda.
Well, could we identify those 5 for the public?
Yes. Let me gather them all together here real quick. The first add-on item will be a approval to enter into an agreement with Kimley Horn for an individual project order for the mounding analysis test for our spray field. The second is a board approval of award invitation of bid for Walker Creek Natural Resources Conservation Service drainage improvements to the lowest responsive qualified bidder. That actually both of those items came up on Friday afternoon. The next is request board approval resolution of incorporation of the city of Panacea. And then request board approval to adopt resolution accepting the quitclaim deed for Crabtree, Azalea, and Palm Parks. And also a community center update.
Okay, do we have any more changes to the agenda?
Yes. I'd like to add an item under awards and presentations.
Okay, we're going to add an item under awards and presentations.
Yes.
What is the item?
It deals with Nelson Mandela.
All right. Still stands. Okay.
Second.
Since we have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next we're going to be moving to citizens be heard. If you filled out a speaker card, I just want you to be aware that we have 2 sections to speak. You can speak at the beginning of the meeting, or you can speak at the end. So whenever your name's called, just let me know if you're going to hold and wait to speak at the end of the meeting. Are there any citizens to be heard? Eddie?
Hold this one for the second.
That's for the second.
Yep.
So we just got these 2.
Yep.
Okay, first we're going to have Bruce Ashley.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your service, as always. I'm standing here before you again as a small update on the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth. We have been approved by the Ounce Prevention Grant Source for our efforts on behalf of moving forward with a community center that has some funding to advertise for positions. We asked Workforce Plus to do that function so that there would be no involvement by the board members or the governing board of the coalition. Workforce Plus, it will advertise the 4 positions for overseeing and managing and conducting functions at the community center. That will start moving forward now, and I wanted to tell the public, anyone in the community that's interested in looking at those positions, the position descriptions, and applying for those jobs, can go to the website of www.employflorida.com. If they have any questions, they can contact myself as the president of the coalition or our executive director, Gail Campbell, at 926-3526.
I have some questions.
Yes, go ahead. Just one.
Okay. So, where do we stand as far as where we left off at the last workshop on this issue? The volunteer of past Commissioner Lynn Arts and her husband Jim Hillier.
Commissioner
Kester, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later.
Okay.
So,
The county administrator
Yes.
has that as part of his
Okay.
update.
All right.
thank you, Bruce. Commissioner, we're going to be addressing that a little bit later.
Okay.
Okay, next we have Hugh Taylor.
Thank you, Commissioners, and congratulations. My name is Hugh Taylor. I live at 1357 Dr. Martin Luther King Road. We are currently in a season considered holy. Its importance is marked by December's one meeting. Only one meeting in December. It celebrates the birth of a man I believe would be standing up here with me, speaking out against your recent actions and methods. You open your meeting with a prayer, then ignore those prayers. What would Jesus have to say about that? You pray, yet you ignore basic tenets of commandments and biblical admonitions. One commissioner speaks of wanting what others have. That's coveting your neighbor's house. Two commissioners took their oath on a family Bible, yet violate its very tenets by abandoning stewardship. And I quote, "The land is mine, and you are but aliens and my tenants." If we are not stewards, we are not fulfilling Christian scripture as I understand it. And I don't think public fits. I think one commissioner has borne false witness with statements currently under review at the state attorney's office. You are enabling theft of a common resource by abandoning local stewardship to protect Wakulla's waters. You have encouraged false witness by running shills in here to speak on the wetlands issue. One says he has property he can't build on, then pushes it as a buildable paradise. One shouts Marxism and private property with no understanding of either, and you front him because he's a Russian. One commissioner refuses to say hell lest he offend. Well, it's hell, Mr. Moore. I'll apologize when hell freezes over is the phrase. By all intents, you've said it, so say it. You don't say hell and that makes you a Christian. Jesus disagrees, and my Bible disagrees. Then Jesus said, the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful. Do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. Everything they do is done for people to see. They love the place of honor, the most important seats. They love to be greeted with respect in the marketplace. Luke, and he said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your stewardship, for you can no longer be steward. He who is faithful in a very little thing is faithful also in much. And he who is unrighteous in a very little thing is unrighteous in much. You cannot serve both God and mammon. We know now who you four serve, and believe me, it will be remembered. And Commissioner Kessler, God bless you, and Happy Hanukkah. Thank you.
Okay, that's the only citizens we had to be heard in this first portion. The next, let's see, we're going to move ahead to the public hearing. I get a motion to open the public hearing for
I make a
standard
motion.
method of collection.
I make a motion to it.
We have a motion made and second.
You need the whole motion read?
I assume this is a motion to approve the public hearing, to conduct the public hearing and adopt the resolution
Whoever
of
made,
intent.
the commissioner made the motion. If you don't mind, just going ahead and just state what the motion is.
I'll have to find it.
All right, I'll take it for
Okay,
you,
go
Jerry.
ahead.
Withdraw your motion. I'll make a motion to approve, conduct the public hearing, and adopt a resolution of intent to use the uniform method of collection for assessments to fire, emergency metal surface, solid waste, stormwater road maintenance improvements, clean energy and wind resistance improvements, property nuisance abatement and cleanup services and improvements, and other neighborhood improvements, facilities, and associated services.
I second.
Good.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. All in favor, aye?
Discussion.
Aye.
Discussion.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Anybody
Let me back up.
Anyone to speak?
Yeah,
And-
okay.
And discussion.
All right, so is there anyone to speak on this issue? All right.
Any more discussion?
The discussion amongst the commissioners. All right, there's no more discussion, so move ahead to vote. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Motion carries. Okay, next, we're gonna move ahead to, an ordinance establishing Wakulla County Marine Advisory Committee.
I move to approve to conduct the public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance establishing the Wakulla County Marine Advisory Committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. Do we have any citizens to speak on this issue? We don't. All right. Any discussion amongst commissioners? Okay. All in favor for the motion?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Good job.
Okay, next we're going to move on to awards and presentations. The first we're going to have is a presentation by the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I want to congratulate both of you on your recent election, and I wanted to come before the commission and thank you on our budget, getting our budget passed, my first budget. I think it was a very smooth process, and it's going to work out real good. You gave us money to fix our roof at the jail and at the sheriff's office facility. That's been completed. Luckily, it was done without any mold in the building, which we were scared of, and that's taken care of. Our air conditioning units for the roof that you gave us the funds for have been ordered. They have to be custom built, so those are taken care of. Hopefully, with the new air conditioners and the roof repair, and the roof repair is actually a white material, our power bill is going to go down. They've assured us they probably will. With the higher SEER rating on the air conditioning units, hopefully we're going to save money there also. At the request of the board, you asked us for our next year's budget to eliminate 3 positions. We've got 3 positions that are open now, which will not be filled, and we will eliminate those in the next budget. And last but not least, we saved some funds by holding positions open since January, which will be eliminated, and because of that, I want to refund back to the Board of County Commissioners a little over $160,000 that we saved.
Thank you. Sheriff Creel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, Commissioner Kessler, you said you had an item that you wanted to add underneath the awards and presentations?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to thank Sheriff Creel for attending his budget and helping the county. I'm going to read some comments about the passing of Nelson Mandela. Some of these are from the New York Times and from CNN. Nelson Mandela was a freedom fighter. He was a prisoner. He was the moral compass and South Africa's symbol of the struggle against racial oppression, apartheid. He died this past Thursday at the age of 95. His message of reconciliation, not vengeance, inspired the world after he negotiated a peaceful end to the segregation and urged forgiveness for the white government that imprisoned him. Mr. Mandela's quest for freedom took him from the court of tribal royalty to the Liberation Underground, to a prison rock quarry, to the presidential suite of Africa's richest country. When his first term of office was up, he declined a second term and cheerfully handed power to an elected successor. Mr. Mandela was 44 when he was imprisoned, and he would be 71 when he was released. After the whites of his country had systematically humiliated his people, tortured and murdered many of his friends, and cast him into prison for 27 years, Mandela was asked how he could be so evidently free of spite after such barbarous treatment. and torment. Mandela's answer was, hating clouds the mind. It gets in the way of strategy. Leaders cannot afford to hate. Nelson Mandela, 1918-2013, a very special person. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next we're going to move ahead to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Louis, we're going to move to planning and zoning. You want to take over the first one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it over to Heather to start with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are quasi-judicial items. The first item is a request for a rezoning of the Magnolia Gardens subdivision from RMH1 to R1. In accordance with Section 24.01 of the County Code, each commissioner needs to disclose any ex parte communications that you may have received from interested parties or their representatives, lobbyists, or other third parties concerning this application or any personal investigation or knowledge being relied upon. Commissioner Merritt?
I've talked to a couple people, but that's it.
No.
Oh, no.
No new conversations, emails, which I did forward tonight.
Same.
And all of the emails from that Commissioner Thomas forwarded are a part of the record and are available for inspection. Anyone who plans on providing any information with regard to this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is the third and final public hearing for the rezoning of the Magnolia Gardens subdivision from RMH1 Mobile Home Residential to R1 Single Family Residential.
I'll make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and vote to adopt proposed ordinance amending official zoning from RMH1 zoning district to the R1 zoning district based upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission to find the facts conclusion of law made by the board and any that's submitted to the hearing hereon and adopted in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and second. We have two citizens to speak on this issue. The first is Ms. Teresa Kramer.
Just very briefly, I want to thank the Commission for considering this item. As you know, the county had special restrictions in our neighborhood that the state then overruled or made potentially invalid. And this has been an issue that's been a problem. I thank you very much for addressing it, as do all of the citizens and residents there in the Magnolia Gardens neighborhood.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Okay, Miss Kim Kramer.
That's good, but it's a deeper voice. I'll go ahead and pass this evening.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any discussion amongst commissioners?
I make a motion to approve.
We already got one.
We've already got a motion. Say, do
I
we
second
have
the
any discussion amongst commissioners on this item?
I've already got a second.
Okay, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job.
All right, motion passes. Okay, Louis?
All right, next item is also a quasi-judicial.
Thank you. Same ex parte disclosures with regard to this item, which is a change of zoning R1303 to change a parcel from C3 to C2. Commissioner Merritt?
No.
Commissioner Moore?
I haven't
Chairman?
spoken to anyone.
None.
Thank you. Anyone here who is here to speak on this item, please stand up to be sworn. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioners, this is for a rezoning of a 0.137 acre parcel located on Ben Willis Road in Spring Creek. This is a request going from C3 general commercial to C2. I'm sorry, C3 heavy commercial to C2 general commercial.
I'll make a motion to conduct the second of two public hearings and vote to adopt the proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map, amending the official zoning from C3 zoning district to C2 zoning district based upon the recommendation of the Planning Commission and finding facts, conclusion of law made by the board, and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon and adopted in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any citizens to speak on this issue? Okay, we don't have any discussion amongst commissioners? Okay, all in favor for the motion?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. Hey, Louis, next one.
All right, next one's also quasi-judicial, so I'll turn it over to Heather.
This is an application for a variance from the wetland setbacks. It's variance number 13-08. If you have any ex parte communications to disclose, Commissioner Merritt?
Yeah, Ed called me, I think.
You spoke with?
The representative of the applicant.
Okay. Commissioner Moore?
The same.
I haven't.
Spoke with the agent. Spoke with the agent, and I think I have familiarity with it from previous.
Okay. If there is anyone here who's going to provide any information, including the applicant, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This is for wetland variance on a 2.82 acre parcel located on Lot 7, Block A of River Plantation
I
subdivision.
make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and approve the application for variance V13-08 based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon.
You gonna adapt the staff recommendations also, Howard?
Uh,
2-year expiration?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll second that
Okay,
motion.
we've got a motion made and second. We got one citizen to speak. Ed Bremner?
Mr. Chairman, we do have one thing to add to the written staff report.
Yes, just a standard statement that needs to be included. It was not included in the report. I'll just read it. The requested variance is necessary to ensure that the applicant is not deprived of substantially all economic and beneficial use of the property on the basis that most of the property is included within either the property setbacks or the wetland buffer. The proposed site plan submitted by the applicant and prepared by the engineer following the engineer's delineation of the wetlands on the property ensures that the proposed development will occur entirely within buffer zone 2 of the as required by section 32.009 of the wetlands ordinance. Based on the review of the proposed site plan, it is not anticipated that the requested variance will have any adverse impacts on the wetlands. Therefore, no mitigation shall be required in accordance with section 32.009G of the Wakulla County Code, which provides that mitigation is required when approval of a variance will have adverse impact on a wetland.
Okay, thank you, Louis. All in favor of the motion?
Whoa.
Got a question. Why did he have to read that statement into the record?
It's typically in your written materials and it was omitted.
Okay, so if it had been included in there, you wouldn't have needed to read it. It would have
That's
been
correct.
part
That's
of it.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, before we go to vote, is any more discussion amongst commissioners? on this?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
So, just to be clear, this respects the 35-foot zone closest to the wetlands, that there will not be construction in that zone.
That's correct.
And this would be comparable to the amendment that I brought forward to amend our current wetlands ordinance to allow for these pre-platted lots to not have to go for a variance in the first 40 feet.
I thought I brought that forward. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think I brought it forward also then. Anyway, this is the same situation that we're talking about. Pre-platted lots, 40 feet, no need to have a variance.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any more discussion by commissioners? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Good job, Richard.
Okay, Louis, application for change of zoning?
All right, next item, I'll let Heather start as well.
This is an application for change of zoning R13-09 to go from C2 to R3 on some properties located within the Crawfordville Town Plan area. Ex parte disclosures, Commissioner Merritt.
Yes, I talked to the applicant.
Commissioner
None.
Commissioner Harden?
None.
Commissioner Tom? Commissioner
None.
Kessler? Okay, if there is anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, including the applicant, please stand up to be sworn. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
This application is for a change of zoning on 8.38 acres located in the Commodore Commons subdivision in Crawfordville. The request is to go from C2 general commercial to R3 multifamily residential. The differences in the two zoning are listed on page 2. Basically, it would go from commercial, the general commercial, which is one of our most or least restrictive commercial, to a use that would allow multifamily, single family, or two-family residential. Staff is recommending in favor of the application for rezoning. This is option 1, based on considering what's around it, the surrounding uses, the surrounding land uses, and zoning districts. Based on the Crawfordville Town Plan, which it encourages a mixed-use development in the Crawfordville core, of which this parcel is included. It's also recommended in the residential needs analysis that was prepared for the county in 2010, which recommends higher density residential districts in the Crawfordville core. For that reason, staff is recommending in favor of this, option 1.
I'll make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map, amending the official zoning from C2 zoning district to R3 zoning district based upon the findings of fact and conclusion of law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon, and adopting the staff report.
Second.
Any motion made second? We got 3 citizens to speak on this issue. First one is Tom Bianco.
Okay, hold on. Did he stand up?
Sir,
Did you get sworn in, sir? Did you stand up to be sworn? Okay, if anyone's going to speak on this item, you need to be sworn. I can do it right now.
Call their name.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Bianco. I own the lots that are under proposal in Commodore Commons. Just want to thank you for your time tonight. I've owned these for about 3 years, and I've been trying to market them for 2 years as commercial lots without much success. Most recently with TLG Group. It's been platted since 2002. On October 17th, after we did our application, the technical review committee did state that R3 use is acceptable. Given its location in the recently passed town plan, I think this would be a great pedestrian-friendly location. I mean, you got a lot of businesses there that you could walk to. And in the adopted town plan, which I had the privilege of reading today, right now the way it's zoned, which is commercial, in the town plan, it now says residential and office uses shall be permitted above the first floor of any legally established non-residential use, which basically means that residents could live above commercial property there now. And then they'd end up being vacant, probably like the villages of St. Mark's. I mean, it's that, in my opinion, that needs to be residential. It's residential behind it. There's no buffer between Commodore Commons and the residences behind it. There's no buffer like there is to the north to Ace Hardware. If you stand in the middle of the street or on any of those lots and look to the west, sorry, not the north, it's trees. You cannot see Ace Hardware, even this time of year. And last, the county commission, and I'm not sure if I'm not sure the makeup or who was here or when, but had a planning study done that was finished in 2011 by a company called Kimley Horn and Associates, which was the town plan that I guess they based a lot of this off of. And on page 56, they start talking about sidewalks and being pedestrian friendly, and what they wrote here is the addition of sidewalks along Taft Drive from US 319 to Trice Lane would provide connections from the commercial areas to both platted but undeveloped residential subdivisions such as Commodore Commons and the developed residential neighborhoods such as Camelot Townhomes. I think a lot of people already assumed that this was residential. And I think a lot of people
that live in the townhomes behind there probably assumed it was residential when they bought them, given that there's no buffer. So what I'm asking for tonight is that y'all accept the variance. Thank you.
Okay, the next two speakers we have are Darren Bridges and Chuck Hess. If y'all haven't been sworn in, please let Heather swear you in.
He's sworn in.
Okay. How about Chuck? Chuck, did you get sworn in?
I'll swear in when I get up. He kinda did.
Okay, Darren Bridges, if you'd mind coming up and...
Commissioners, I'm Darren Bridges. I'm the agent for TFB Holdings. You just met Tom Bianco. He is TFB Holdings. He covered most of what I was going to say, but I did want to read an excerpt from the residential needs analysis that Mr. Cerna alluded to a few minutes ago. It says, quote, although Wakulla County has sufficient land uses to satisfy the projected need over the 5 and 10-year planning horizons, the county should consider developing and implementing techniques to diversify the housing stock. Currently, 96% of the housing stock is detached single-family residences. Diversifying the housing stock would include promoting higher density developments such as townhouses, condos, and apartments. Consideration should be given to the needs of an aging population as well as to the affordability of housing when developing strategies for diversifying the housing stock. Focusing the residential growth into higher density areas located in more urban areas of the county, such as the Crawfordville area, could serve to meet the long-term residential needs of the county while preventing sprawl development that can threaten environmentally sensitive areas and increase the cost of extending infrastructure to the sprawling development. I think our proposal in rezoning this property to a R3 designation meets those needs as outlined in that analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Chuck. Get sworn. I got my card left over from Chairman Merritt. Don't forget Chuck.
Yes, very important.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So, this has been up before, same issue, same problem we had before. And this is one of the few areas in the center of town where we can have a big, large commercial area. It's, it's right now it's commercial, and as we move forward, if we want to have a town center, a town area where we have walkable commercial area, where a large area can be walkable commercial buildings, okay, this is the place to do it. If you take it out of the commercial, then, you have just more strip malls all the way up and down 319. I'm not in favor of that. I think we should move into consolidating our commercial activities into a good location, and this is one of the few good locations that we have inside of the central Crawfordville area, and you shouldn't lose it by moving it to residential. Thank you.
Okay, we have a discussion among commissioners.
I have
Randy?
several questions, actually.
Go ahead, Randy. We'll start down here.
Louis, in just being an advocate for Ace Hardware, the applicant mentioned a couple times that there's a buffer zone between them and Ace. Is there really a buffer zone there, or is that just means their lots aren't cleared?
There's existing vegetation. Now, during the site plan review process, there will have to be landscape buffers in place. And
My concern is that, let's say Waterley at Ace Hardware decides to do something with his property. We have landscape standards between non-compatible uses. In other words, if this was C2, he wouldn't have to do much of a landscape barrier between his C2 and their C2. But if they change theirs to residential and he wants to do something with his property, he'll have to comply with a much more stringent landscape buffer. And in the site plan process, is there a way to put all this on them who's wanting to change? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, the landscape buffers on the existing commercial would only kick in if there were a major redevelopment of that property. If he wanted to change the use or do any minor renovations to the building, there would not be any landscape requirements of that. It would only kick in with major. I don't know how you could condition the landscape buffers all going on these properties. I don't know if there, I don't think there would be a way to do
The
that.
concern from the abutting property owner, as he's told me, is he's worried that people will move into their houses, and he has existing uses he does there that are allowed, and they're gonna start complaining, and he's gonna have to be shut down, and which, I think that's a legitimate concern. But you said in your site plan review, which, if this goes through, you're gonna review each lot individually, right?
That's right. Each lot that develops will have to do its own site plan, and buffering will be addressed. Now, typically, you're more concerned with residential that's there first, and then commercial moving in later. So, I mean, you can assume that people who buy there or build there know what they're getting into because there is existing commercial behind.
I know it hasn't been an issue behind the Winn-Dixie, which is similar, but in his case, it's something that makes a lot of noise. So I'd encourage you, when they do come for site plan review, I mean, I'm gonna vote for this, but to try to keep as much of that vegetated buffer there as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be cheaper to develop that way as well. You can use existing
They
landscaping.
would agree to that, I'm sure they will.
Okay, Jerry?
I would hope that when you're able to sell this, that you can sell it to someone who will build apartments on it. It's ideally situated for apartments. It's in town, it's close in, it doesn't skip over a bunch of a group of subdivisions, so it's the ideal place for apartments. It's absolutely the worst place for commercial. I disagree with the previous person. I can't see anybody ever, if I built commercial there, I would own that and it would be not rented forever. So another thing that it doesn't make much difference, but I dislike condos and townhomes because they're good if they're on the upper end, so hopefully you will be able to sell that for apartments because it's really where it should be.
Okay, I'm going to be voting to support this. The area around it is, other than the one commercial property that fronts 319, the area around it is all residential, and as I understood from what you were saying, you've already tried to market this commercially for 2 or 3 years, and you haven't been able to. So if someone was going to get it commercially, it would have basically already happened. So we've got land sitting there that could provide more housing that would already fit the neighborhood, and the area doesn't front 319, and you would have to have an access off 319 to even get to where it's at. So I'm going to be supporting it. Ralph?
I'm okay with it.
Howard?
Yeah, so, Mr. Cerner, what was the vote from the planning and zoning?
It was a tie vote, so there was not a recommendation.
Does a tie vote fail? Does it?
Yes, a tie vote means that the motion to approve it did not pass.
So it was not approved by planning and zoning.
That's right. It was not recommended for approval.
And I think we all agree that with the town hall, the Crawfordville plan, town center plan, that the multifamily usage would be compatible. Would not the existing commercial be compatible?
Yes, I think mixed use is really what the town plan calls for. So I mean, you could argue that commercial zoning would be compatible there, but given that there is a shortage of multifamily residential in the area, I think this is more of a mixed use rezoning.
And the shortage of multifamily residential, I think we just approved one on the west side of 319 in our town center.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, we did a rezoning.
We approved another one that was on the fringe of our town center, multifamily.
Yes.
Okay. And I think there may be another property sitting on the east side of 319 that may be so zoned at the present time, which is just south of the old Hamanakis restaurant. Anyway, I think we have a good deal of multifamily that's already on the books. I remember this a bit in 2002. It was the board's attempt to and the developer's attempt to have some kind of mixed use in the community. And it was sold or pitched that the residents of this neighborhood wouldn't have to go far to do their shopping. There could be these small stores that would be there. So that was the intent. And I don't think this is, I don't think this should be about marketing a piece of property. I think it should be about planning, and I think that the existing zoning is compatible. Thank you.
I'm going to go with the staff recommendation, so.
All right.
Okay, is any more discussion amongst commissioners?
I'd just like to clarify, and I appreciate Commissioner Kessler's points about the additional multifamily that we have approved, but, you know, a couple distinctions. This one is already platted, and so those are going to have to come back for plats, and this is already in place. And that property has sat there for 11 years and has been unused and is not providing any benefit to our county at this time. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this thing was purchased as a distress sale or a foreclosure or something along those lines, and so it's not working out on its current path. And so I think it would probably make sense to give it a shot and see if this can be used as residential. And I think it's consistent.
I'm going to agree. Okay, if we don't have any more discussion, all in favor to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1. Okay, next, David, we got general business.
Yes, Commissioner. Next agenda item is tab 19, request board approval, Wakulla County Airport Master Plan. On October 7, 2007, if you could bear with me, I'm going to read through this. October 7, 2013, the BoCC approved Kimley Horn to provide professional consulting services to develop an airport development plan, ALP, and supporting documentation related to the airport master plan update. At the BoCC workshop on November 7th, John Sewell of Kimley Horn provided the BoCC with an update relating to the airport master plan project. There was discussion regarding next steps and options of the airport development. In addition, the county administrator provided information on a public-private option for the airport. The board was in favor of supporting the public-private option for the airport, and consensus was reached for staff to move forward with revising the master plan. The Wakulla County Airport Master Plan update is proposed for approval by the BoCC. The master plan includes the recommended development option for the Wakulla County Airport that was developed as part of an extensive public involvement process. The recommended development strategy will enable the airport to be compliant with FDOT airport licensing standards. If this master plan update is approved, the first step in implementation will be to complete a preliminary engineering concept design, which would be funded by FDOT. I would like to also at this point in time enter into the to the record the memo. I think each one of you has the memo in front of you. Dr. Kessler, did you get a copy of that today? It should have been there on your desk. If not, we'll be able to provide that to you, but I'd like to read that into record, if y'all don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. The purpose, this is the Wakulla County Airport Public-Private Partnership Development Plan. This is just an outline to move forward. This is what we had promised. This is what we had talked about. The purpose of this county administrator item is to memorialize the intent of the county to develop the airport as a public-private partnership using the following development plan, which may need to be amended as needed from time to time. First step, BoCC will approve the updated master plan and airport layout plan presented to the board on December 9th, 2013, which will then be forwarded to District 3 FDOT for final approval. Second step, Wakulla County will work within any funding provided by FDOT for capital improvement studies, engineering, survey, permitting, and land purchases. It is not anticipated that county funds will be required or provided for capital improvements. And this is a stop no-go point. However, should FDOT require any county funding, then the BoCC will determine whether to move forward with airport improvements. Step number 3, Wakulla County and Tarpine Homeowners Association, or HOA, will enter into an agreement for funding of ongoing maintenance of the airport operations. It anticipated that $6,000 per year initially will be paid to the county by the Tarpine HOA. This payment is to be received annually no later than October 1st of each year, with the exception of the first year, which will be prorated. Another stopgap. If an agreement cannot be obtained with the Tarpine HOA, then the BoCC will need to decide whether to move forward with airport improvements. That pays for the maintenance of the airport. Wakulla County using, step number 4, Wakulla County using FDOT funds will engage an engineering firm to develop a design, permitting, and construction plans for the airport runway improvements. If it is determined, another stopgap, if it is determined that permitting of a critical aspect of the improvements cannot be obtained or will be costly monetarily to the county, then the BoCC will need to decide whether to move forward or not. Fifth step, Wakulla County will request funding from FDOT for the purchase of 16 acres to the west of the existing runway and 4 or so lots on the south end of the runway that are between the end of the runway and Surf Road, and purchase the land needed on the north end of the runway from the refuge subdivision and or its current title holder. Wakulla County will request funding, step number 6, Wakulla County will request funding from FDOT for construction of the airport improvement. Step number, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Wakulla County will request funding for a small fuel facility for fueling airplanes. All revenue from fueling will be realized by the county. Step number 8, Wakulla County may establish a runway fee to be paid by all planes landing at the airport, with the exception of plane owners within Tarpine community who are contributing to the maintenance of the airport. Last item, Wakulla County does not anticipate purchasing the hangar land or hangars at this time, but may elect to do so in the future only with FDOT funding. This is in line with what we talked about, and the master plan reflects this, primarily the last point as far as purchasing the hangar land. That is a potential purchase in the future that may or may not be done. At this point in time, John Sewell from Kimley Horn, he'll be glad to come up. We've got a presentation, but I think you all seen it, unless you all want to see it again.
No.
So therefore, I would like to entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the Wakulla County Airport Master Plan and adopt by reference your development plan. There were some questions.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion made second. We're going to let Mr. John Sewell speak, and then we'll go to citizens to be heard, and then we'll have discussions amongst the commissioners.
Yeah, I think the only couple quick points I wanted to make is related back to the direction that we were given at the workshop. Basically, the option that Mr. Edwards proposed at the workshop, we actually went back and modified the master plan and the ALP to reflect that the hangar property, which was a considerable amount of acreage, would be an optional thing for the future, but it's not obligating the county to do any of that. So that's the private component of this, and I think it's a good step for the county. And so we've made all those changes, and the draft master plan, which we provided to you last week, is ready to go to the Florida DOT for their review and approval, and I'll answer any other questions you have at this time.
Yeah, so
Does anybody have any questions for John while he's here?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So the four alternatives that are in this, you're saying we're going with this alternative that was
Correct.
read off.
Correct.
Is that adequately stated in here that we're doing that direction?
It is, and really the option that Mr. Edwards proposed basically is sort of components of all of the different options that we had in there from the beginning. So it's not a large departure from what we had developed previously.
Okay, do we have any other questions for John Sewell? Okay, thank you. Okay, we got 7 citizens to be heard. First, we've got Mr. John Andrew Smith, that's going to be followed by Walt Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm John Andrew Smith. I live on 2509 Surf Road. and a member of the Airport Advisory Committee. I've spoken to each one of you individually in terms of where some of my concerns relating to cost estimates and relating to some of the numbers and so forth. I still have those no matter what happens. Some of the numbers that were submitted by your airport manager and some of the costs and so forth, projections are, to me, totally unrealistic, and some of the numbers in terms of the airport activity goes over being considered fudging. As far as I'm concerned, they are fraudulent numbers. When those numbers go into, if they include in the plan and they go into the information at DOT, you're the one responsible for those numbers, not them. I can tell you, as a part of the Airport Advisory Committee, that was one of our number one issues that 3 of us had, were numbers that were submitted and other were cost estimates. But that be whatever you decide it's going to be. The other issue is whatever you do tonight, I would hope that you would do it conceptually. And the reason I say that is that there's a lot of proposals been going around, people not understanding exactly what's happening. For example, I got the master plan. I'm on the committee, and I got an email from the county this afternoon at 2:30 that the airport master plan was available. Now, this master plan is 156 pages. As far as I know, there was nothing in the information that would indicate that the proposal that David presented tonight is also out there to be reviewed. So the only thing I would ask you to do, whatever decisions you make them on a conceptual basis, get the plan out there, let people look at it, let people look at your proposal, and then come back and react to it at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Walt Dixon.
Mr. Chairman, I've got to agree with John on this. I really think, David came up doing a workshop and brought up a proposal, and it's something we could probably all sit down and work with. And what I'm asking commissioners right now is to amend the motion, and let's approve the airport master plan that John came up with originally. Let's pass that tonight. Let's get that behind us, and then, like John said, let's find out the rest of the proposal that the county administrator has. And I think we can work through a lot of these things, but just to spring it on us like he did earlier without us really sitting down and debating this, I think it's totally wrong. And I'm urging you to amend your motion to approve the airport master plan like Kimberly Horn presented at the workshop. Then we can come back later and start working on proposals, working with Tarpine and other people to get our airport moving. That I appreciate. Thanks.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Richard Shepard, followed by Stephen Fultz.
Hi, my name is Richard Shepard, and I had a big spiel going, but I'm going to go along with Walt Dixon, and I got to tell you, it's we need to get it straightened out, but you need to go ahead with the airport master plan. Thank you very much. Good evening, Commissioner. Steve Fultz, 35 Montecoupe Circle. First, I'd like to congratulate Chairman Harden and Vice Chairman Thomas on their appointments. I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. The following comments are primarily predicated on what I observed at the recently held airport workshop. Honorable Commissioners, I would like to congratulate you for what I believe you're about to do. I'd also like to thank our County Administrator, staff, Kimberly Horn, the Airport Advisory Committee, and the Ocklawaha Bay Alliance for their contributions in helping to determine the future vision of what Wakulla County can be. I'm absolutely certain the path you are hopefully about to take will make our county an even more attractive place to live while stimulating our economy, providing jobs, and most importantly, improving safety. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. With the generosity and support of the Florida Department of Transportation, this will indeed be tremendous progress that will benefit future generations of Wakullans. During this process, a small number of folks have splintered off in opposition to progress, and it's caused hard feelings for some. I, for one, look forward to rebuilding the relationships and restoring the harmony within our community. Life is just too short. With the recent alternative provided by the county administrator, I think it's very reasonable. This process has dragged on and drug on long enough. Sure, there's some things we're going to have to iron out, but I think we need to, as the administrator said, memorialize this direction, move this direction, and work out the kinks as we go along. With that, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a very healthy New Year. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see, Diane Wilson, to be followed by Carol O'Dear.
Hi, Diane Wilson, 175 Tarpine Drive, Panacea. I'm sorry I haven't seen you all recently. I've been sick. But I am here tonight, and I am fully in support of this private partnership, private-public partnership that was mentioned by Mr. Edwards. And I really do hope that you do move forward with that. This has been discussed, and I really hope that you make a decision tonight and move forward with this. And it would be great to be able to pay you some money for using the airport. If you want, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Carol O'Dell, Ocklackney Bay. I live in Tarpine, you all know that. I also served on the Airport Advisory Committee. I understand that changes were made more than once to satisfy the opposition. There were public meetings. There was plenty of time for comments. The airport, well, regarding the airport, there's been much misinformation put out to the community. And one of the big things is the grant from the DOT can only be used for airports, not to pave roads. There's all kinds of letters to the editors that has misinformation in them. The real estate market, I say again, I said this at the workshop, I say it again, it has suffered because of the controversy going on about the airport. And so I'm hoping that the county will vote to go ahead and start with some improvements so that the real estate market can come back. There's houses down there that have been on the market for years. People are not going to pay a lot of money to purchase property not knowing if there's going to be an airport. I just hope that the county will do the right thing. I think that the improvements will bring the real estate market back and you'll be collecting more tax dollars. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to have Alan Pfeiffer, be followed by Bill Anderson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. This would be the best show in town if not for the amount of effort and time that goes into this and the amount of stress it causes people. I'm in favor of the airport moving forward. I'm a tenant at the airport now. My business depends on the availability of the airport. I think it's important to point out to the public that hears this, that there's a lot of misinformation. I've seen written in the last couple of weeks there's 6 airplanes out there. As of tonight, there were 17 hangared or on the tarmac. 17, not 6. I heard another person say in the media that we were going to raise the runway to above the height of the old Hammondakers right there. That is not true. Misinformation causes a lot of people to move in a direction that's not necessarily good for the public at large, and I think this is an example of that. We've had so much time and energy spent on discussing what's is simply a relatively simple, not an expansion of the airport, but just general improvement of the airport. We've had people on the Airport Advisory Committee that are like a Trojan horse. They go in ostensibly to help the process arrive at a good solution. They get everything they want in terms of accommodations. And then externally, they write letters to the governor to quash it. They threaten DOT that they're going to cause hardship going forward. So why don't they go ahead and drop the project? This is an excellent project to move forward. I hope that it does. I think the $6,000 that's going to be paid by the homeowners association is just chump change compared to the houses that will be built and the taxes received by the county over the next decade. I hope that we can continue to move forward, that we improve the airport from a safety point of view and a livability point of view, and that we bring many more dollars into the county over the years, weeks and months and years ahead. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Okay, Bill Anderson to be followed by Dana Peck.
Bill Anderson, thank you. I think we need to put this in perspective. And what I'm going to quote is from the Airport Master Plan. This is not opinion or whatever. It says the present population of Wakulla County is a little over 30,000 people. Quote, a large majority of activity at the airport comes from residents of the Tarpine community who have aircraft based out of their private residences. That's a large majority, more than half, far from these people. Quote, Tarpine consists of 33 residential units as well as numerous vacant lots. That's page 9. This community is the primary user of the airport, these 33 residents out of 30+ thousand people in the county. How many airplanes do these 33 homes have? The plan says, and I quote, most residents within Tarpine have a personal aircraft that they either park or hangar at their property. It doesn't say how many, it says most of the 33. Is that 25? Out of the 30,000 plus people that live in this county, the majority of use comes from the Tarpine subdivision from 25 airplanes. The master plan proposes to almost quadruple the land area of the airport to take care of this activity for multi-millions of dollars. That's way out of proportion to what's needed. The airport master plan lays out 4 alternatives, but then it goes on to say on page 53, there's only 2 things needed to bring the airport presently into compliance. One is a public telephone, which you can have a phone booth put out there. The second thing is 2 parcels of land on the east side of the property encroach on the airport. There's no alternative even proposed to put a public telephone or acquire those 2 properties. If you did that, you would eliminate all of the problems. It would be in compliance. It makes no sense to spend multi-million dollars to quadruple the size of the airport for basically 25 airplanes. As far as the putting additional land, raising the airport, the plan proposes to raise it a little over 2 feet. The airport length is 2,706 feet in length, 70 feet wide, 2 feet high. It's 378,840 square feet of dirt that you'd have to fill in, and that is if the side of the runway went straight down. And you know it's not going to do that. It's going to have to taper out. The airport master plan sets out at the back all the environmental problems, the wetlands, everything else. You're going to have a whole lot of additional runoff, etc., by adding all of this land. Thank you. We should not approve this airport master plan.
Thank you, sir. Dana Peck.
Dana Peck, 2481 Surf Road, ditto. I used to teach in college, and I'd have students from time to time come to me and say, I worked real hard on this, but they still flunked. And I think that's what we have here with the master plan. I read it. I don't know if you all read it. But I was stunned at some of what it looks like inaccuracies and bogus, inflated information in this master plan. And for that reason, I think you should take a really big, deep breath and think about having this thing corrected. I hope the state would correct it. And in addition to that, I hope you think this way. Can you look taxpayers in the eye when you say you're about to okay hundreds of thousands of dollars for essentially a subdivision with no data, nothing to show that there's any economic benefit from using this hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of dollars for nameless, from nameless,
faceless taxpayers. And I don't think you could look them in the eye. And that's what you should be doing if you approve this plan. For example, this plan says that Wakulla County has had a significant increase in population in recent years. Well, from 2010 to 2012, we added 42 people, according to the U.S. Census. In 2008, we had more people than we did at the end of 2012. That's bogus, and it's sitting right in this master plan. In this master plan, it says, we had a community survey, except it really wasn't a community survey, except it wasn't a survey at all, except it had no validity. Now, that's in the master plan. But aside from that, let me tell you what this survey showed. And then it goes into detail as if this is a legitimate survey, and the community had input. They didn't. We people have been cast as noisy agitators when we're wondering what's happening here. What is this delusion about spending all these tax dollars? Can you look taxpayers in the eye and say, well, we had to tear up the wetlands to put in the fill for the airport, and when the next storm comes, and it will come, and that fill is washed away with the pavement, who's going to be saddled with the burden of putting the pavement back? I bet it's going to be a taxpayer. And who's going to have their yards flooded because of this pavement? 378,000 cubic feet of fill and pavement, all running into Surf Road. Has this airport hurt property values? It probably will, when the floods come and the flood insurance goes up. And I love the security fence. For what reason? It's been there since 1963 with the fence it has. So where are we going to have razor wire and put welcome to Honduras and El Salvador at the front of Surf Road when people drive by? This is a master plan that would make it hard for taxpayers to swallow. And I'm committed to helping taxpayers understand what it would do.
Okay, that's all of our citizens. We have a discussion amongst commissioners.
I seem to recall we had a several-hour, was it an hour workshop, and I thought we had a consensus, and I thought that's what this was, so I'm going to be supporting that.
Okay, go ahead, Jerry.
I probably have several questions. What time is it? 7 o'clock. What's the difference between the previous master plan and the one that Mr. Smith got at 2 o'clock?
John, you can make officially quote that, but I think it's just a change in planning for the hangar property. Am I right, John?
Do that again.
It's the designation of the hangar property as potential future purchase, but because it was a purchase, now it's potential future purchase.
Okay, so that's the only difference in the plan.
That's exactly what we talked about in the workshop, our public-private partnership.
You mentioned, of course, anticipated county funding. Before that, there will be any county funding, it would have to be brought to the board.
Mm-hmm.
I've been over this with you on the 6,000 homeowners cost to maintain the airport. They have to do a vote by their homeowners association to approve that.
However they get it, I don't care how they do it, as long as they get it.
Steve can pay it himself.
Yeah.
One can pay it, they can all pay it, or whatever they want to do. That doesn't make any difference to us, as long as the check doesn't bounce.
I believe everything they say. They approve the 6,000, and then 3 months later they decide, half of their members decide that, hey, this isn't working for me. My child needs a dental plan. So what's our option?
Number one, they'll pay a year in advance. Secondly, at that point in time, we will bring it back to the commission, and the commission can vote to either make that a MSBU area and put it on the tax bills of each one of the Tar Pines landowners to where they bring that up. You'll have a couple of options as to what to do.
Why can't now? I can vote for this, but I'm going to defend the people of the county that basically probably 90 to 10 don't want this. Why can't we go ahead and tie this onto the tax bill as we go forward? What's the big problem with that?
This is the easiest way to move forward at this point in time, and I wouldn't suggest that if the HOA wasn't it's been there for however many years already. It's an established HOA. Therefore, we can go in agreement. But I mean, at the end of the day, we have options that other folks don't have to collect those funds, and that's the reason we like I say, it's a year in advance funding, and we can do what we need to.
Let me give you a thought on that too, Jerry. Some of the lots in Tarpine have hangars on them. I had a foreclosure I bought in Tarpine a couple of years ago. You couldn't put a hangar anywhere in that place. You couldn't have a plane or anything. And they might get their heads together and say, all right, obviously this guy's never going to be able to have a plane on his property. I'll pay extra than he's going to pay. He'll pay some, but not as much. I like your idea of assessing it, though. And if they ever back out and say...
And there's plenty of time for us to discuss that, and we can form an MSBU if that's what the board so chooses in the future. This is just a mechanism to move forward.
Well, personally, I'm not going to go forward unless I have an ironclad.
Well, that's what this is. In here, it's got stopgaps in here saying...
With all due respect, David, until we get until their homeowners association, or until we say that if you don't pay your bill, we will automatically attach it to your. And I'm a property owner in there.
We can put that in this agreement, that when we write it, we can write in the agreement.
If it's a year in advance, we've got at least a year to put it on the tax bill, is what he's saying.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. We can put that in agreement. We haven't drafted any agreement, period, so far. All this does is says, when we move forward, that's one of the stop measures. If we can't come to agreement with Tarpine and the hangars.
All right. Then basically speaking, as we go forward, this thing will not go forward unless, the board has to approve it.
And that's the whole point of this, and that's why it was not, is there's stop gaps in here that says, if these things don't happen, we can stop. We can stop. We can stop, and then it's a decision point. That way it works for everybody.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
No, sir.
I have another question. When this goes up to the state, and I understand we had some advisory numbers of flights that came in and out of the airport. Are those flight numbers going to go to the state as being whatever?
Everything will be submitted in this ALP and the master plan. That'll be submitted to the state.
Let's assume it is rosy, all right?
Rosy is not even the word for it.
It's just like when you do a development plan and you get your traffic counts. Guess what? That's just that is reach. Every engineer will tell you that's reaching out here and grabbing a number. It happens every day in DOT. Those are traffic counts. It's the same damn. Am I right, John Sewell? Right.
You may be right, but I'm not going to go along with it.
That's up to DOT. If they don't like it, they can stop
I don't like it.
No, what I'm saying is DOT at that point in time, they can question it. That's at their approval in, not our approval.
Well, we're sending it to them that these things actually happen.
I don't think DOT cares.
I care.
I think I can clarify this point, if I may. In terms of the estimates of the operations, DOT will tell you have two options with an airport. You either have a tower or you do not have a tower. And if you have a tower, those numbers are easy to generate. If you do not have a tower, it's typically relied on staff at the airport to give you an estimate.
That isn't going to work, John.
Well, it's the only, Commissioner, it's the only thing that you have to estimate these numbers. Now, that said, it's not the important number. Okay? It's not the important number. The more important number is how many fixed aircraft you have at that airport that generate the numbers and the revenue that you're talking about here. So, in terms of the operations, there's a very small difference between 3,000, 7,000, and 15,000. And DOT will tell you that. What they're going for here, is it 5,000, is it 100,000, or is it 400,000? And that's the only thing these numbers are used for. It's a planning number, just like David said. When they build an extra lane onto I-10, it's based on a traffic estimate. And they use estimates because there's no way to know the real number. So.
Yeah, thank you, John. All right, I'm gonna move on. Well, let's see. Do you have any more questions, Jerry?
No, those traffic numbers are just laughable. That's all I can say.
All right. Well, I'm going to speak on this. I'm in support of the airport. I believe the airport is an asset. I believe it's a really big asset. The county below us has 4 airports. We have 1, and it's the only airport we got. And we had the public workshop on it. And I was under the understanding that we left that workshop with a consensus, even from the people who attended, that the public-private option that was presented was agreeable with everyone. I think the public-private option that's been presentable is agreeable with me. I'm going to be supporting this. Like I said, I'm for the airport. I think it's an asset for our community. There are other people that I do believe there are other people that come in and fly and use that airport other than the people who live there. And whenever those people fly in and use the airport, they also use our local hotels and restaurants and fishing guides. And I don't know how exactly you would track that number, but anyway, I'll be supporting this. Ralph.
Right now, we've got about, I think, $5,800 budgeted in this year's budget for the airport, and I like the fact that this shifts that money to the users that are actually using it. Very similar to boat ramp fees or something like that. The folks that it's important to them are the ones that are funding it, and so I like that. That's my commitment going forward, and I've told everyone on both sides of this issue that I'm not either in love with the airport or hate the airport. I think it is an asset, and I think that it should be given a chance to support itself. My commitment is to allow that to happen, but make sure that we're not spending a lot of local taxpayers' dollars to make that happen. I think I've been consistent with my position with everybody on that, so I wish you guys all the best, and I hope it is successful. It's been around since 1963, I think, at this point, and so hopefully this is an opportunity for it to flourish. Thank you.
Howard.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm confused. I thought we had reached a consensus of how to go forward. So I'm sort of mystified here. And I guess I started with the questioning is having those 4 options in this plan confused me, because I thought we had agreed upon the roadmap that our county administrator had spelled out with going ahead and getting the studies done that would tell us whether this is a feasible project or not. And if that's what we're voting on tonight, then I'm supporting it. But I want to make sure that's what we're voting on tonight.
We're voting on moving forward with the airport layout plan, and then once the state approves that ALP and the airport master plan, then the next step of that is to go towards engineering and do all the studies to see whether it's feasible to even.
Well, my motion adopted by reference those steps he read out, and one of those stops is if it's determined environmentally that it's too expensive or unfeasible, we stop.
Right, and so I just want to make sure that I also voice my concerns all along. I have 2. I don't want to lose the airport, and I don't want to do tremendous harm to the environment. And those 2 issues weigh heavy on me. So I'd like to see the improvements done in a way that we don't significantly impact wetlands. And if that means keeping it to not having taxiways in another area of the property, then so be it.
I think we've nixed the taxiways, right?
I think so. John, are they still in there? They're out.
Right, just a runway improvement.
Yeah.
The way I understood it, the only portion that the county's going to be dealing with is strictly the runway, right? Everything else would be ran by the homeowner association, correct? Right. That was the private partnership.
No.
And
No.
Was that it?
He talked about in the future having a self-service fueling station.
Right, a self-service fueling station.
That would be the county, but it wouldn't be an employee, it'd be self-service.
The idea is to keep the county from having an employee there other than our volunteer airport manager. As you know, that's where you really start sinking your cost in, and the whole purpose of this is we can sit here and every one of us can talk about you can do this, you can't do that, you can do this, you can't do that. But until you dive into it and actually do the engineering and the studies and you see how everything fits and see where the stormwater is going to go and see where all that is, you don't know. Nobody can sit here and say, here's definitely what's going to happen. That way we can get it down. If it's going to be impossible to build or it's going to cause effects, you guys will have a decision point. But you got to get there. We got to quit talking about may happen or that may happen. You got to get some science behind this thing, and that's where we need to quit dealing with speculation, and let's get down to the brass tacks, and that's what this does.
Do we have any more discussion amongst commissioners?
I'm still not through. What time is it? 7:30. I will go along with this if we can have a stop tonight that if the homeowners renege on their $6,000, that it automatically goes to their ad valorem.
What if we get a head nod of support that we're willing to go that way? Because I agree with you, and I'm willing to support that as well, but I don't know that it's necessary to support it tonight.
It's not. I mean, that's an agreement that's going to come up, and that'll come up in short time before we get far down this road at all.
And that can be a stop.
Yes, that's a stop, and that's spelled out in here.
I agree with Jerry also, that if these guys are committed to do this now, they don't want to come back 3 years from now and say, well, everything's done now, I'm not paying for it.
Well, and that's what we've talked about as well, and that's the reason we know all about the MSTU, not BU. TU.
I'm supportive of Jerry's idea.
And so that'll be we'll bring that back in
at this motion.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes.
All right. Well, let's get on to something easier. Panacea Incorporation.
And followed by the weapon.
These same people can stay here. Don't leave. We're getting into the rest of it.
I wouldn't touch that one with a 10-foot pole.
We have walls on.
Mine first.
We have walls on both sides of these issues.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You got to have her item, and then we'll
Okay.
do Panacea Incorporation. I was
Okay,
jumping
Dave.
behind.
Okay, we need to have Heather's item, and then we're going to have the other items, Dave?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll start with me then.
Okay, all right, Heather.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item requests the board to consider entering into an installment payment agreement with Sue Strickland and Guadalupe Rogers, which would this is one of the code lien foreclosures that were recently authorized. As a part of our process, we send out letters to each person before we file foreclosure papers, asking them to contact the county so that we can try to come to a settlement.
Make a motion to approve the attached installment payment agreement.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, I have one citizen to speak on this issue, Miss Susie Strickland.
I do appreciate the offer, but I've been very sick. I've been having to go to Shands, and honestly, I don't know that I can afford this installment. I mean, that kind of money. It may not be much to you, but it's the world to me, because I'm having to have extra money come out for my co-pays, for my medicine, and I was hoping, you give forgiveness, and I don't understand why I can't be forgiven, and I don't know how I'll pay for that. And my mother is 70-something years old. It will fall on her, and that will make me feel horrible as a person to do that to my mother. This was an owner finance thing, as you know. We were not allowed to go on the property to clean it up, and Jamie was there. She was made to get off the property as well. When we finally were able to do it, we cleaned it up. We paid for everything. We have paid thousands of dollars to clean this property up. It is clean. We would like to do something with it so you can get more tax money out of it, to get your money that way. I have paid thousands of dollars for taxes on this piece of property, and I'm just drained. And all I can do is ask for mercy from you guys. That's it. I don't have anything else.
Mr. Chairman, when we met with the property owner, there were terms agreed to. The last I heard, even from Jamie earlier today, was that you were going to be here with the signed papers. The amount that is included in here, which would be payable over 2 years, is only the county's hard costs that you accumulated in going through code enforcement with this item.
What was the amount that was forgiven?
The total lien on this one is roughly about $5,200. The hard costs that were estimated are $2,750,
Is that from?
Payable over 2 years.
We tried to resolve this years ago. Nobody ever talked to us. So I don't know where all this extra funding incurred, because we was there from the very beginning. We came to these codes meetings and nobody would, we just got nowhere. So all these $2,000 something, I'm sure it's from the attorney fees, but we tried to deal with this before this even happened.
It's actually not attorney's fees, it's county staff. It's inspections and mailings and postings and all of the time that county staff put into it. There's a very, very small amount for title search expenses.
Well, I know that you guys have forgiven the total cost for other people, and I don't know what the difference mine is compared to theirs. I don't know. And that's all I'm asking, is to at least think about it, because this is this has put me in a very tough situation.
County staff, we recommend that you try to recover your hard costs on these, and that's it. And we're recommending that you forgive the rest and allow a very generous repayment period.
I think Commissioner Robinson will speak on it.
Ms. Strickland, what if we cut the payment in half and double the time? Can you work that? I like the idea of collecting the hard cost, because if we don't collect the hard cost, we're asking the other citizens to bear the cost. And I'm so sorry for what you're going through, but I think, you know, I've made a commitment that I'm not interested in foreclosing people's property, especially for numbers like this, and so I certainly want to work it out. And so would that work if we could just give additional time and cut the payment down?
The question is are we allowed to do anything with the property to try to improve it?
No.
Well, it's your property, so once this agreement's in place.
No, not when there's a lien sitting out there.
No.
They will not be able to get a permit till the lien's
I
gone.
can't do anything with it. In other words, I have to pay taxes on something I can't use.
Let's explain that further. I mean, if she wanted to sell it, she could sell it. She'd have to satisfy the lien.
Yes.
Okay.
There is a provision in, I don't know what portion of the land development code, so if you know, let me know. But there's a provision that if there is a code violation sitting out there, that they're not able to get a development permit.
So we can't do anything.
Well, and I would have to say, if $2,700 is stopping us, probably not going to be in a real good position to invest money into improving the property. So I think it would probably be proper to clear that up before you move forward. But I want to see if we can figure out a mechanism so we can accommodate your need, but still collect the taxpayer's hard cost.
Heather, if there's a tax lien on a property, can you get a permit then?
Does this property have a building on it?
Just wonder if, I know what you said, if it's under code enforcement action, but in her case, would it be considered a resolved code enforcement action? This is just a lien similar to a Brook Forest, for example, the paving lien. Even the vacant properties had a lien against them, but they could certainly pull a building permit. I just don't know if there's a distinction there. And I don't know if we've ever addressed this before.
This kind of a lien is definitely different from an assessment lien, but he's looking it up.
That
I have
was
a
the problem,
question.
because we invested, we can start getting our money back.
Is there a building on the property?
There is, but it's not livable.
Well then, if you don't, with all due respect, if you don't have the $2,700, how can you ever find money to improve the property?
Because my son was willing to give me a mobile home to exchange it so that we could rent it out to make money. But I can't do that, can't do anything.
Now, when we talked, excuse me, Commissioner Moore, when we sat down and had our meetings, you said that your son would either help you satisfy this lien so that you
done anything.
so that you can move forward, or that whenever he was going to borrow the funds from the bank, that you would get those, or whatever he had to do, you were going to satisfy those.
That's truly what I'm hoping for.
And
but
we,
I can't bank on that, because I don't know what his final.
and that's the reason we set up the 24-month payment program for you. And at the time, you were okay.
I appreciate that, really.
Again, my question, if we can resolve it, is is it possible to make it where even though there is a lien where she owes the property owes the county money for hard costs, that they could pull a permit to improve the property? That's my question. Let's say, for example, when I had the one in Tarpine, I keep going back to that, I got a demolition permit to tear down part of what was not in compliance, so obviously I got a permit for something.
To bring it into compliance, I'm sure. Louis is looking that up.
I mean, I think that would be a big help for her if she could,
If we could go forward. and
Exactly. Put this mobile home on there, even with the lien in place. I think we stand a better chance of getting our money back, to be honest with you, if she can do that.
Well, we need to set a time frame, though.
Can we
just
table
can't-
this till he figures that out, and let's...
Sure.
That'd be appropriate,
So,
Mr. Chairman?
are you making a motion?
I'll
to
make a
table
motion
this?
to table it till Louis can clarify this a little bit. No, just till later in the meeting.
We'll bring it up later.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're just gonna table this to later in the meeting, not to a
Correct.
different date?
Give him a chance to try to get a good definitive answer.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay, we got a motion made and second to table this to later in the meeting. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, Heather, you've got any other?
Please tell us no. Thank you.
Okay, David, you got some more add-on items?
Oh, yeah. All right, this is a less controversial one. Corporation of Panacea. This agenda item requests board approval of resolution on the incorporation of the Panacea community. At a workshop on November 7th, 2013, the board and citizens, we held that so that the board and citizens understand the incorporation process as well as benefits and challenges of incorporation in both Panacea and the county. Citizens were also given an opportunity to ask questions and concerns. Staff had been working with members of the Panacea Waterfront's Florida Partnership since the workshop was held and addressed budgets, revenues, essential services, interlocal agreements, and other administrative issues. I think I've talked to each one of you about the process to move forward. There's a resolution in here that supports, if you so choose to go that way, supports Panacea moving forward to the legislature to ask for the legislature for approval to form a town, and then it will go before in 2014, in November 2014, go before the voters in Panacea on a referendum for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of the incorporation of the Panacea community and authorize the chairman to sign the resolution. Hold on one second. You and I talked earlier today about the figures you had in there. Is there
Yes.
anything you want included in my motion to
Do you need to include in, if the board so chooses, the memorandum for the Panacea Incorporation financing plan, and the spreadsheets that go along with that? Because what that does, that defines how we're going forward in this process. That sets where we're at today, the county.
We agree to
We
support
agree,
this
but
on
we're
these terms.
on these terms,
All right,
moving forward. That
that's
way it
my
can't blow
motion
back
as
on us.
I second the motion.
We've got a motion made and seconded. Okay, we've got two citizens who want to speak on this issue. Ms. Dana Peck.
Dana Peck, 2481 Surf Road, will blow me down. This is the last meeting of the year, and here you are all slipping in some big old deal like this. No advertisement on this, no knowledge of this. I just found that myself, and I'd even looked at the agenda. And here's the same group of people that wants to get rid of our local county control over wetlands, because that's just too much government. But you sure are all fire willing to add another layer to give the green light to proceed to establish another layer of government in Panacea with its own taxing authority, with new salaries that are going to have to be paid for administration. You all can't get it straight. I think elected officials are the people who talk straight, and they talk straight to the people whose money they use to do their things. Politicians talk from both sides of their mouth, don't they, sometimes?
Okay, next to speak, we have Chuck Hess.
Gentlemen, I have no idea about this issue, and that's really bothers me. Because it is important for our community to know a lot about this issue as we take this forward. And this didn't rate getting on the agenda and being published as part of the agenda item so we could at least read these proposals and read what you've got. This doesn't make sense. I don't have any idea whether this is a good idea or not, but I think you're doing it wrong. You haven't advertised. The people don't, if you weren't at that workshop, which I wasn't, okay, you have no idea what's going on. And so you've got to put this out, and so the public has a chance to comment and know what's going on and can come forward and speak to you about it, not just toss it on at the last minute. Thank you.
David, those are a couple of good points. Can you kind of give us a rundown of Panacea's trying to incorporate? Step one is to have the county on the financial end, say, okay, go ahead and proceed with what you want to do, right? That's where we're at now.
That's right.
They still have to put it on the referendum for the people that are affected. Well, first, before they got to go to the legislature.
Legislation, that they have to, on December 19th, there's a meeting, they have to present this to the committee to be able to go vote before the legislature.
So they got to get past the legislature.
Right, committee and then legislature.
If they get past the legislature, then they have to put a vote to the citizens in Panacea that are going to be affected by it.
That's right.
And they have to decide whether or not they want to incorporate and have these additional taxes, which there are some additional taxes.
That's right.
If they want to do that, fine. If they don't, that's fine.
That's right.
And what your effort has been is to minimize to the greatest, well, not the greatest extent possible, but to minimize as much as possible the revenue that's taken out of the general revenue fund while still supporting Panacea with a smaller, I think, what's 30-something thousand a year.
$28,000.
We're making them pay back all the taxes that they're taking that are going to be made up by other citizens.
Mhm.
So this is not a vote to say, all right, we're going to incorporate Panacea. They're going to decide whether or not they
That's
want
right.
to incorporate
They
it or not.
decide. That's right.
Hey, Jerry, this is your district.
I don't have anything on it.
Okay, I want to say that I fully support Panacea Incorporated. I've spent over 7 years as a city commissioner, and I fully support a community that wants to take the initiative and to create their own local government. And Commissioner Merritt said it right. Ultimately, the vote's not going to be made by this commission. Ultimately, the vote's going to be made by the citizens of Panacea within that area, whether or not they want to be incorporated. What we will be voting on here tonight is simply to allow this to move forward to the legislature. Okay, if it doesn't get past that point, it's never going to get to the citizens of Panacea actually to vote on. So the actual vote to be a city isn't going to be made by the commission. It's going to be made by the people in Panacea, and they will have all the information at the time to know whether or not they want to know that. The things that Dana Peck mentioned, all those things are going to be made available. So citizens in Panacea are going to have the information they need in order to decide if they want to incorporate, knowing that if they do, they will be creating their own local government. There's pros and cons to that, but I am supportive of Panacea.
I do have a question here. At a previous meeting, I did say that if Panacea would, in their incorporation, if they would make sure that they divulge to the citizens the cost that would be involved, that I would support it, and they've done that now, so I will support it.
Well,
during the workshop, the original budget that was presented to us would have been a quite substantial drain to Wakulla County taxpayers as a whole. And I made it clear that I was very much in support of Panacea deciding this thing for themselves. I made the comment that we're not being asked to vote yes or no whether or not Panacea will become a city. At that point, when it was presented, we were being asked whether or not we could live without the money that they would be taking away from the county in their tax base. David has worked very hard to submit a budget that balances that out, that I'm now comfortable with, that this is not going to be a major financial concern to the rest of the citizens. And I see this as an investment that will benefit that community, but we're not spreading that cost on taxpayers now. And so as long as the folks that are pushing this thing forward are in agreement with that budget, I think you've done a good job to find that balance between them being allowed to make that decision and our taxpayers to financially incur the cost of that.
Now, there is a cost. We don't want to
There
say
is.
there's not. It's about 30-something thousand.
$28,000 at the first year, and anticipated at in 22 years out it'll be $33,000.
But my understanding is, in exchange for that cost, with them becoming their own entity, like St. Mark's, for example, has all these grants for these boat ramps that everybody gets to use.
Right.
South Chappie has a South Chappie City Park that everybody gets to use. And they're then eligible for more grant funding. South Chappie's got its water system. St. Mark's got its streetscapes like that. And that's kind of what I like. I think it's worth the investment.
And initially, it was more than $100,000 what that cost would be. And this didn't come out tonight, but David has included a plan that as ad valorem tax values come back and Panacea starts adding back to the community, back to the tax base in a larger degree, then we're going to pull back some of the fees that we're withholding that they would be eligible for, and so that can be phased in over time.
Well, yeah, and they'll actually benefit from the increase, from that increase. So it really puts, they've committed to us that, by forming a town, they will be able to increase property values.
Mm-hmm.
Just put your money where your mouth is. If that's the case, here's a mechanism that gets you there.
If that's what their citizens want.
That's right.
If they don't like it, they can simply vote no.
What it was, we had to minimize our risk to our county taxpayers, and that's what this does, while supporting Panacea.
Yes.
The ultimate decision is going to be with the citizens of Panacea to decide for themselves if they want to be an incorporated city and they want to have that local control. Howard, you got anything?
Of course. So we arrive at a compromise of how much or how much less money we're going to subsidize the incorporation of Panacea. So under the worst case scenario, when we're looking at the numbers of how much this Panacea give to the county in taxes, and how much does the county give back to Panacea in the form of services and everything else, what does that number look like?
Very lopsided.
All right, I'll go through this. I looked at this from an investment standpoint, as you would if you were in private business, and many folks say, well, government needs to be more about business, so that's what this is. That's the way it's looked at. Currently, if you take currently our budget for the general fund, adding in the sheriff's department that we've got this year that's been approved, is $20,300,000. If you take the county parcels of 22,165 parcels, that's non-government owned parcels, that's tax-paying parcels.
That's anything from a single wide to St. Mark's Powder, though, right?
To St. Mark's Powder, that's right. You take that number and you divide that out per each one of the costs that's associated in that $20,300,000. That's about $916 per parcel that it costs to run the county government. If you take that $916 parcel and you take that by the 1,251 parcels within the Panacea area that's going to be incorporated, and you multiply that times the 916, they should be adding back to our tax base. They're costing our tax base $937,494. Panacea is bringing in currently contributing to the county at a rate of $373,885. That's with all taxes in, everything. That's a difference of $563,608. Then I take that by county population. You take the county population, which is 30,997. Same math, that's $655 per citizen based on the expenses of running the government. Therefore, you take Panacea population of 862, divide that out, and they should be paying $485,000. They're bringing in 373, you got a $111,000 difference. The third way to run that is you take the county improved parcels, meaning there's a resident there, residential house there, or a commercial piece of property. The county, over the county, that's costing $1,712 per county parcel. You multiply that by the 593 improved parcels within Panacea, and that's $872,436 is what they should be bringing in taxes. They're bringing in $373,085 for a deficit of $498,551. So I averaged all three of those mechanisms, came up with a negative $391,161 that Panacea is bringing to the table as far as playing. Therefore, I looked at it from an investment standpoint and said, you want us to invest $140,000 and we're already losing $391. I don't think too many people is going to take that. So,
From a strict business perspective,
from a strictly
though,
business standpoint,
the smartest thing to do would be cut Panacea out and take it and move it over to Franklin County.
exactly.
Okay.
So, in going back and saying, hey, we got to try to work something out here. This is not a great investment for our citizens. It could pay dividends in the future, but Panacea, you say you can do all this stuff. We'll give you some seed money that limits our exposure, but that's what you're going to get is some seed. And if you can do what you can do, you say you can do, then you'll realize the increase. If you can't, the county isn't damaged. It's not economically damaged. I mean, we just went through, and I hate to say this, and John's going to kill me, Detroit. That's a fear. That's a fear. You don't have enough revenue coming in, and you got expenses out the wazoo, and that's what we've warned Panacea. You don't have enough revenue. So, therefore, we have to limit our exposure, and that's where we came up with this sharing plan. Our state revenue shares, state revenue, which is the monies that is collected across state, and then it's shared with municipalities and counties. We're going to get, the first 2 years, we'll get 75% of that back, and then after that, 50%. The half-cent sales tax, which is collected the same, excuse me, I back up. State shared revenues is collected, we'll get 26% of that because that 26% is for transportation improvements and we perform the maintenance on their roads. We're going to get 26%, they get the 74%. The half-cent sales tax, that's what we'll get 75% of that the first 2 years, then after that we get 50%. The PST and the CST tax, that will be tied, we'll establish right now in Panacea the ad valorem value right now is $30 million. They bring in and they pay $274,000. Let me get my number right, because somebody else.
Can we forever commit them to giving us that PST money?
$259,000.
Legally?
Can be done by interlocal agreement.
All be done by interlocal agreement.
But
provide services in exchange for a payment.
Let's say, we do interlocal agreements with cities all the time. Let's say 5 years from now they said, we don't want to do that anymore. We want you to provide services, but now we want to negotiate on the PST. Could that happen?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I mean, but I think it's going to be based on a performance basis.
Your plan cannot be codified fully, is what I'm getting to.
Until we get to the final. But this is what we're moving forward with the understanding today, because we have to move forward with some type of understanding. If not, we're saying, here's a checkbook, y'all take off and run. So, not that they would do that. I'm sorry, John. So, therefore, what we did was tied, much like a TIF, you got an established value of $30 million of value there, and they're bringing in taxes of $254,000 in ad valorem. So, therefore, we said, okay, we know over the next 2 years tax values are going to continue to decline before they balance out, and then they should start coming back up again. Those years, and when the tax value in Panacea, just in Panacea, does not exceed that $30 million mark that's established in here, we get 100% of the PST and the CST. The county gets it. So if it never gets above that $30 million mark, we're not damaged. We collect all of our PST and all our CST. If they perform and do what they say they can do and increase property values, then incrementally as each year, just like a TIF or a CRA, they'll realize that difference. If it goes over the $30 million mark, they'll realize, or that $259,000 mark, same difference, they'll realize that increase, and we'll deduct that out of our share of the PST that they pay back.
Given they're doing this at the bottom of the market, that's almost guaranteed to happen then, I assume, unless...
Well, no, that's not going to be at the bottom, because they've still got 3 years of declining revenues.
Probably.
And that means...
Back in 3 years.
Well, but then it's probably going to take another 3, and if they're successful at what they're doing, and they're good at it, then they'll benefit. If they're not, county's not exposed, we've limited our exposure, and they've tried it. That's the way it works.
Do we have any more discussion?
Well, yeah, I just started my discussion and it got shifted around, so I don't think I had my discussion yet.
Go ahead, Howard.
So, we have a lopsided situation where we're providing, the citizens of Wakulla County, are subsidizing Panacea.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Panacea also, in part of this agreement, sorry, Dr. Kessler, part of this agreement is they agree to charge an average of $11 per electric meter or utility customer to everyone and every business within the Panacea area, which is per month, comes up to about $80,000 worth of revenue.
And that's revenue they're keeping.
And that's revenue that they are keeping.
And then they need the county.
So they have skin in the game now.
Well, yeah, they have skin in the game. They're taking the skin from the citizens of Panacea, a lot of which don't have a lot of skin to give. And I don't know how how knowledgeable or how educated the PR will be to let the citizens know how much this is going to cost them. But again, let's go back to the business model. When you take an entity that's being subsidized right now, and they're telling us, well, we're going to get better, and when we get better, you're going to benefit this way. I don't see the county doing the right thing for the county by jumping in at this point in the game. If Panacea had numbers that were not as lopsided as they are now, then maybe we could discuss this. But unless this is revenue neutral, which this plan is not, I don't think it's fair to all the rest of the citizens of Wakulla County.
Now, the inverse of that, though, Howard, is that, of course, that Shell Point
Well, let me ask you,
should have a
hold
lot
on
lower.
one second. Have you said anything? Have you got anything else you want to?
Oh, yeah.
Can we just
Go
discuss
ahead,
back and
go
forth,
ahead.
too?
All
But
right, go
Howard, the inverse of that is that the more valuable properties like Shell Point really should have a lower millage rate. But
Well, that's
you can't isolate one portion of Wakulla and say, they pay more and they pay less, therefore they should have more and they should have less.
Exactly. And I think we, as county commissioners, should be looking at our unincorporated area of our county, realizing what we have subsidized, both incorporated and unincorporated areas, in special ways, that the question should be, how good is this for Wakulla County? You're of the opinion that this is good for Wakulla County. I am not so sure, and I'm not willing to take taxpayers' dollars and gamble on that.
Well, I wasn't in favor of it as it was presented before, where they got all the PST, but I think it is worth the $28,000 that David has estimated that it's going to cost if it can turn Panacea into something like, well, St. Mark's ability to get grants to improve the entire area. And if it can turn Panacea into something, maybe they can acquire the water system. Maybe they could do what Sop Choppy did and get grants to expand the water system to service other people.
Yeah.
I think the amount of money that we're talking about here is worth a risk on it, basically. Not what was presented before, though.
Right, and it goes back to the general thing of, is this good for the county overall, even if their numbers were better? And I'm on the opposite page.
I think basically the grant money that they get from grants and so forth will offset the money that we're spending for them. So I think the benefit will be greater because of the grants that they get. And the grants they get is money that the county doesn't then have to spend to maintain.
That is correct.
So,
Yeah.
I think it'll be better than a wash.
Jerry, I'll just give me 1 second, Howard. Okay. I'm gonna agree with Jerry on that. That's one of the biggest reasons that I am supportive of Panacea is they would have the ability to get grants. Sop Choppy just got a grant and just completed. They got a grant for $650,000 for stormwater. They're in line to get another. They're going for phase 2 right now to get an additional $650,000 or $700,000 to do phase 2. Whenever they get done with that, they're in line behind that to go after it again for streetscaping. And Sop Choppy on its own without the county was able to get over $5 million to do a citywide sewer system. They were able to do all of those things because we were able to do all those things because of being incorporated, where they were to go after FERDAP grants. That's just that. And St. Mark's is able to do the same thing. As far as services, one thing I want to say is whenever they're in Sop Choppy, whenever the sewer system did get put in, 100% of the money from the sewer system collected in Sop Choppy goes to the county, because the county is the one providing all of the service of running the sewer system. Sop Choppy doesn't get one penny from its sewer. Now, it went and got the $5 million to put the sewer system in, but Sop Choppy doesn't keep one penny of their sewer money. Every bit of that is remanded to the county every month. There's a check probably close to $50,000 a month that the city of Sop Choppy cuts to the county. That is all of the billing that's done. Sop Choppy does the billing with the water and the sewer and everything, but every month Sop Choppy cuts a check to the county. It doesn't get one penny of that money. All of the building fee money, or any building that goes on inside the city of Sop Choppy, all of that building fee money goes to the county, because the county's the one providing the service of the building department. Those are several examples, one right after another, to where I think there's a misconception that Sop Choppy is being subsidized, and it's not. It's generating its own funds. St. Mark's is doing it, and I believe if Panacea given the opportunity, it would eventually do the same thing. And the final vote's going to be up to the citizens of Panacea. Does anyone else have any discussion? Well,
Yeah, I'd like.
well, go ahead. Howard, go ahead.
All right. You know, the forecasts are wonderful. All this rosy type of forecasts, and everyone makes money in the stock market. I remember forecasts of the Maritime Museum, and that stays with me. And so I don't give much to rosy forecasts.
Obviously, we know there's never enough money to go around, and we're charged with trying to figure out how to balance that properly. And you know, these guys are trying to take their own destiny and take some of that burden off. And if they're successful, they'll benefit their city, they'll benefit our county. You know, I don't see us investing in a rec park in Smith Creek. I don't see us doing it in Panacea. Just sheer, and maybe we can, I'm just a general statement, just geographically, you're going to generally make those investments in more essentialized area. And I hear that a lot from people all over the county, that Crawfordville is getting all the investments, and that's a central decision. That's not a discriminating of one area over another. And so I think this would be a small investment on our part that will put some of that in their hands and allow them to go after those grants. And maybe, St. Mark's and Sop Choppy are a success story in my book, and hopefully these guys can adopt some of that. And we need to all be on the same team and working for the same goals. We certainly don't want to have a major exposure to our citizens, and I think this does that. I think this gives us that healthy balance so they can move forward. And I believe this will be an investment, and I think long term it will benefit Panacea and it will benefit our county.
Smith Creek does have a rec park. It's the O'Clontney River and the National Park.
and that's the rec park I grew up in as well. I'm with you.
All right.
Okay, Howard, do you have any more discussion?
Well, I just want to be clear. I'm not in favor of subsidizing. I wish they were coming at this revenue neutral and going back to the overall picture. Is this good for Wakulla County? I disagree.
Is there any more discussion? If not, we're going to go to vote. Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-1.
Very good. Let's move on to Ms. Gale. I'll get to the update on the community center in just a minute. I'm sorry. The next item on the agenda is request board approval to adopt a resolution accepting the quitclaim deed for Crabapple, Azalea, and Palm
So
Parks.
moved.
Second.
Okay, do we have any citizens to speak on this issue? No, we don't. Okay, do we have any discussion amongst the commissioners? Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. Next item is request board approval to accept and award the ITB for Walker Creek Drive Natural Resources Conservation Service
Motion to approve.
project.
Second.
Any discussion amongst commissioners?
Hold on.
Hold on, Heather's freaking out.
The motion has just a couple specifics
Me to
we
read
need
the
to
motion verbatim?
include.
Yeah.
Yes.
Howard, did you?
I don't have it open. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the award ITB 2004-01 to PV & Son Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $462,373 for Walker Creek Drive NRCS drainage improvement contingent upon the required protest period. Authorized chairman to execute the associated contract documents up to and including the NTB. Howard, was that your motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion made second. All in favor? Aye.
Wait, I want to make a comment on this. I called David today about this to be sure about it, but our right-of-way actually goes out beyond the limits of this project, so it may be possible in some future point to put some sort of walkway on the water side of this wall, because I know a lot of people go down and throw cast nets out in that canal to catch mullet. So anyway, we still have county. My question was, who's going to own the bottom just outside this seawall? We still will. So that is just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Next agenda item, Commissioners, is we don't actually have, this is a request to move forward with, in our process of trying to obtain our grant, our USDA grant. USDA engineers, we've submitted everything to Gainesville. It's past Marianas to Gainesville. Their engineer that was working on, from the state standpoint, they had questions on Thursday afternoon and into Friday about the drain fill area that we show, our existing drain fill area, whether it could...
Spray field, not drain field.
Spray field, whether it could handle the extra water that was anticipated to take the plant from a 0.6 MGD to a 1.2 MGD using RIBS, which is a rapid infiltration basin. Therefore, they said, well, before you move forward, we would like you to do a analysis of the drain field to see whether that, or spray area, see whether that sand can take that. We believe that will be the case. This was something we were going to do anyway in the process, before they move it forward, that we get this done, and then the engineer will sign off on it.
Motion to proceed with the groundwater mounting study, and what's the dollar amount?
Not to exceed $18,500. That's right.
I second the motion.
You have a motion made and second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Chuck didn't want to talk on that one?
He's asleep.
He's asleep. All right, the next is a community center update.
This is a non-voting item, though, right?
This is a non-voting item. This is just to let you know. I met with Ms. Gail Campbell and Bruce, and we went up and met with the 501c3 folks that are very nice folks that are charged with administering and awarding the grant, administering the grant, and monitoring the grant, and for the Department of Health. This is a grant through the Department of Health, and it's not a federal grant, it's a state grant. Therefore, after that meeting, we asked them very specific questions. Can this grant be used for a community center operation? The answer to that was yes. It's a seed grant, meaning they're trying this model out, and if this works here, they'll be able to say they'll move it other places and use this grant. So I got a good feeling about exactly what was expected. You know, one of the things I said, well, you don't mind if we charge, we're going to be charging for services there for certain aspects. Somebody wants to rent it for a wedding. We don't have a problem with that as long as you don't ask our folks to work overtime and expect us to compensate them. You would have to compensate them. That makes perfect sense. So, based upon that, and based upon where we're at today, what I think the direction that we need to go in, because this is 3 to 5 years, and the reason I say 3 to 5 is there will be constantly monitored, and the end of 3 years, is the way I understand it, is this kind of a, so let's see how we really are doing, and if things are going good, we'll go ahead and extend it to 5 years. So it's am I right in saying that, Bruce, is the way I understood it? So therefore, the good news is what they'll do coming out of this is they'll fully fund all of our operations there, at the maintenance and the electric and all that stuff. But what it'll do is give us basically allow them with the state dollars, and allow WCC, this is all through the Wakulla County Coalition for Youth, All right, that's who the grant recipient, or that's who will receive the grant dollars. What it'll allow them to do is actually, for the next 3 to 5 years, find out what programs work, what are sustainable programs, what makes sense for our community, and doing it on the nickel of the Department of Health, okay, and helping our citizens both at the same time. So moving forward, and yeah, understand this has to be funded by the legislature every year. So it's just like any other program that you get from the state. If the legislature doesn't fund it that year, we're out. But right now, the commitment is for a 3 to 5 year commitment. What I think moving forward, based upon having dollars, what we'll have to do is moving forward is develop a contract with, an agreement, excuse me, with WCCY for the administration of the community center operations. I think we need to move forward with that contract, because they bring dollars and time and personnel to the table. We'll have to we will have to naturally reject our RFP for the community center operations, but we're going to ask. But I still see and I still believe that Lynn Arts and Dr. Hillier and their group of volunteers, they can mesh in and work within this and develop an agreement with WCCY so that they can do what they had indicated they would do with us. Understanding they'll have to work with WCCY as an agreement. The county does not need to be a part of that. We just need to have our agreement with WCCY, but we would ask that they work with Ms. Arts and Dr. Hillier on that particular, so that they can offer their service, because they've got a large set of volunteers that are ready to come forward. And the final thing that I think we need to do moving forward is set up a reserve account. Currently, we've got monies assigned to the community center, electric, maintenance, etc. We continue that year over year. We continue funding that and put it into a reserve specifically for the community center, so that at the end of the 5-year period, it's not a shock to our financial system. We can then pick up those operations that we deem that we need to pick up. We can pick up those and run those, and we have a reserve to start out with. So unless there's any objections, we'll be bringing back an agreement once the documents have been received, the grant documents have been received by WCCY and transmitted to us. Then we'll start the agreement process, and we'll bring you agreement back in January to move forward with this process. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Any discussion for the...
Just in the hiring process of the director of the community center, what is the rationale for workforce doing that?
That is not our business, Dr. Kessler. That is the business of the WCC. They will be an employee of the WCCY. They'll be all of those positions will be employed by WCCY, and they're working with Workforce Plus to help them in the hiring process. That way, they're not a county employee. They're working with WCCY, and we'll bind up, what we expect as well in the agreement.
So it would be like the YMCA. WCCY would be like the YMCA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But the county then had to negotiate an agreement with the YMCA that included all kinds of different facets.
Right.
So how does that process work?
Well, we're really, we've got the YMCA template, but this will be a little differently, and we really want to wait until we get the grant documents in, so that we can, because then that'll really help tell us even more, and then we'll mold that agreement to where we get what the county needs out of it, WCCY gets what they need, and we can move forward.
We'll bring that back to you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, David, I vaguely remember you mentioned something earlier today about on the next board meeting there's some event or something that's going to be close to the same time.
Well, yeah, okay, that's it, Ms. Gale.
I can't remember what it was.
Unless you got anything else to add on that? Okay.
What was that?
All right, there's naturally Commissioner Merritt is jumping ahead of me. First, wanted to tell everybody, wish the public and everybody Merry Christmas. But secondly, our next commission meeting is January 6th at 6 o'clock. Okay? Now, all do understand there is a football game. Oh my gosh.
That's what it was. something.
There is a football game that night, so we may want to consider moving the meeting up a little bit, maybe, so people can get the game starts at 8:30.
Thank you if we could
This
meet
is
at
citizen
4.
participation, Howard, I don't.
Well, I don't think there's any need to move the time or the meeting. We just can bring a big screen TV in here.
Works for me. But you're not allowed to have alcohol on county facilities.
That's true. I have a problem watching games like that, so.
I would suggest we move the meeting maybe back to 4 o'clock. That'll give people plenty of time to get here, do what they want to do, and then go home and do what they're going to do with their families.
Really need to have a cutoff point on that meeting, too.
Well, I think we can do that.
We're not going to be the best show in town that night.
No, people are not going to be worried about what we're doing that night. So, we need a vote on that?
David, do we need a...
Yes, yes.
So what the motion would be, somebody would have to make a motion.
Well, I'm not going to make a motion. If somebody's not going to go along with it, we got to have a 5-0 vote.
I would go along.
Howard, I'm looking at you.
Well, I'm going to vote for it. I mean, so it's up to...
Well, if, our other options are to pick another night.
Correct.
And have it at 6 o'clock so the citizens can attend.
Correct.
So.
That is another option.
David, I think you had mentioned that. I don't know what the issue was with moving the entire day.
I would not do that in case we have already had to notice things, etc. I wouldn't move the day. I'd just move it up. That way we don't have to renotice and go through all that stuff. As far as if we had a public hearing or something that was already been scheduled. So.
And we'll probably have a full agenda. I'm assuming we're going to have a full agenda since this is the last meeting of this year. But maybe if anybody has anything controversial, wetlands, please don't put it on the January 6th.
I think that would be, seriously, I think that would be a good idea. If something that was not time sensitive and can wait for a future meeting, then to put it on then rather than put it on that meeting.
Yes, I agree.
Like I said, David brought this to my attention, so I'll go ahead and make the motion. We'll move the January 6th meeting to 4 o'clock start time.
I second that.
Okay, we got a motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Now, the last thing that I've got, I believe, is this. We have been, awarded, some of you may or may not have heard about this, but we have been awarded through NERDA, which is the Natural Resources Disaster Assessment. We've been awarded 3 projects here in Wakulla County that total up to $2.4 million. These are funds that were paid by BP to the individual states for specific damage assessments or damages due to the oil spill. We had submitted 16 projects, along with other counties had submitted across the state hundreds of projects, but they only selected a few, and Wakulla County got 3 of those projects, which is fantastic. One of those projects is the upgrading and renourishing and upgrading of Masha Sands Park of $1.5 million.
When you say renourishment, does that mean pumping sand back up on the beach?
That means getting some sand where you can beach, or getting sand up there somehow.
No.
I know that Randy's interested in that walkway going to the left.
Yeah, there's a little bridge there called the Randy Bridge.
I'm interested in that also.
Over to Merritt Island.
Shell Point or Masha Sands?
Masha Sands. Masha Sands.
Can we have that fleshed out a little more?
I think the Shell Point was 800,000, correct?
Well, but part of our plan,
yes, it is.
David,
not putting.
I'm sorry. She says it's not, but I thought it was. Anyway, this is putting your bridge there.
Not my
bridge.
This
is improving the Merritt Bridge over to Merritt Island. This is improving boardwalks.
Understand where we're talking about here?
This is doing all the improvements, new facilities at Mashes Park to turn it into a nice facility.
Get people where they go back out and fish.
Also, David, I also want to ask about the boat ramp. You know,
That's all part of it.
This is also going to repair that boat ramp, which is one of our...
It's repaired right now. People just keep the trailer on where it's supposed to be. We got stop signs up there for a reason.
And with all due respect, in low tide, you
can't launch a 30-foot boat there.
I hadn't got a 30-foot boat, but in low tide you can't pick your boat up there.
Most FSU fans can. The Auburn people can't.
We got more sense than the throttle line.
You're right. We'll be working towards that. The other one is Shell Point Beach Renourishment of $882,752. That was already in the hopper. They've been waiting on that one, so that one's moving forward. And
That
then
is pumping sand up on the beach.
That
to
is
improve the beach
putting
itself.
sand on the beach, and I'm gonna clarify that about Masha Sands. And then the last one was a $51,000 grant to improve the at St. Mark's boat ramp, to improve that facility.
That's their grant they applied for.
They
and we just
applied for it.
supported
We helped them put it through the NERDA process.
They
So.
got that as a municipality.
Cherie, she took the reins on that and ran with it when people told her it was a waste of time, and guess what? We got it. So we turned in $25.9 million worth of projects, and we got 10% of that.
Can we do on Merritt Island? Can we do a kayak launch out that way somewhere?
I think there's a couple places we got kayak launches into those estuaries that were cut in there.
Right.
All that is planned, yes, sir. Observation points, etc.
Don't let the girl from the paper hear all this.
Also, don't let the girl from the Amanda. I think he was talking about you. Now the next thing is OBBT Phase 3. The funding has been released on that, and the Seminole Indian Tribe has already said go ahead, so we're ready to move forward with that. Also, I'm trying to find my note here we have SHIP.
And David, clarify the OBBT, that's going all the way, that's completing it, right? That's going all the way
Well, that's
into-
Phase 3, and then Phase 2 and 5B have been funded in the future, so therefore we released this funding has been established. So hopefully sometime around 2015 that will be constructed all the way from Sopchoppy to the
All the way to-
And this all ties in with that Capital City to the Sea project on a larger.
And let's thank our Commissioner Merritt, who is the chair of the CRTPA.
I
He
believe
helped
Howard
ferret
worked
that
on that
through,
too.
and Howard worked on that.
Oh, it's a team effort.
That's right. The other thing is a reminder to the public, the SHIP application deadline to apply for the owner-occupied rehab and home buyer purchase assistance. You will need to complete an application which must be hand-delivered to the BoCC Administration Office beginning December 16th and ending December 18th at noon. It will end at noon on December 18th.
2 days?
2 days. Okay? Applications are available on the county website, and we have them at our office at administration.
SHIP
office.
is rehabilitation
Yes,
money, correct?
Yes.
Down-
Or down,
Put new siding on your house, fix roofs, or put
rehab
this
and
on.
home buyer purchase assistance.
Right, and so the reason for that short window is that it's a first come, first, attention type of system. And historically, they've always, or in recent years at least, used up rapidly. So in all practicality, if the window was longer and you got more applications in, you wouldn't be touching them anyway.
I'm going to assume, though, that the number of requests far exceeds the number of funds. Is that correct or not correct?
Yes.
Yes, always.
I mean, is there a
And
procedure?
that's why it's a short
I mean,
window.
is this going to be like Black Friday on Walmart or something?
No, it's a first come, well,
It's
Whoever's in the
pretty
door.
intense.
they're,
Yeah.
Pretty
We had,
intense.
last year, we had people waiting out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that.
I mean, could it be done in a lottery fashion? I don't want to get into this too deep. but-
That's where we let those guys handle it as professionals.
Well,
Got a security guard at the door?
I think
Right.
that's something for next year, but this year it's set.
Okay.
Yeah. The last thing is Louis is going to give us hold on before we go to the FEMA. Just to bring you up to date, the preliminary numbers we've gotten back. Preliminary, isn't that right, Greg? Greg made sure I wanted to say preliminary. We were standing, we had a target fund balance in the general fund of $2.4 million, 2.489. As of the end of the year last year, we now have a fund balance. We have a fund balance of $2,470,000. We're $19,000 away from fund balance. Congratulations to all the employees that helped us get here. We've got the county back on good footing. We've got to stay there. We've got a lot of challenges this year. We're going to eat into that fund balance heftily due to some of the problems. But you know what? The good news is we got the fund balance to be able to take care of those emergencies, and that's what we're doing, and we're doing the people's business.
I think
Spending the money right.
I think, David, we just followed your lead on that, and I would congratulate you for being the leader and getting us to this point.
Well, it takes, like Dr. Kessler said, it takes everybody, and we all did it, and we all should be proud of ourselves. The citizens should be proud, because we come back from the abyss.
But we still have the sheriff's department fund balance.
That's right, we still have that,
Still out
but
there.
things are looking better, we're getting there. So with that,
Does that include the $167,000 check we got tonight?
no, because most of that will go back to sheriff.
Yeah. David, we had a tape.
All that does, that went from that hand back to over there.
Is this the tabled item you're bringing back
No,
up?
this is FEMA, the FEMA update.
I want to ask, before we do the FEMA update, if we could go back to that tabled item we did earlier, let's go in and discuss that.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I'm
and,
sorry.
And about the code enforcement issue, and then after that, then we can do the FEMA item, if you don't mind.
Mr. Chairman, I am not comfortable negotiating terms of a settlement agreement in a public meeting. I'm going to recommend that we bring this back at the first meeting in January. Part of the reason is because, I think that we can accomplish most of these things, but she's not had an opportunity to consult with whatever advisor she's going to need to consult with, and I'm an attorney. I don't want to sit here and look like we're trying to push something on her, so I'd like an opportunity to...
Well, I'm going to go, let's see, Randy, you made the motion, didn't you, to the table?
Yeah, so
Later.
the question I had was, this lien, would that
I think in the purpose...
prevent her from pulling a building permit?
It would, unless, in the interest of compromise and settlement, we draft something into this agreement.
I
But-
would be interested in doing that, so I'll make a motion to table this
To a future meeting?
again, to a future meeting, and I would recommend that we include that caveat that she be allowed to pull a building permit. And I think it's be in our best interest to allow her to make income off the property to pay this code enforcement lien back. So that's my motion.
Second.
Okay. Okay, if we don't have any discussion, we got a motion made and second to table this to a future meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Untabled, just to be retabled.
Louis, would you please give a FEMA update, please?
Just very briefly, we've been informed by FEMA that the effective date of the new flood maps will not be until August or September of next year. We were originally telling the public January of this year. We are still advising people to build to the new flood elevation and take care of insurance with their insurance companies, but the effective date will be delayed just because they have received some comments and they have made some changes.
Yeah, I was going to say
That's
something
all
about
I got.
Obamacare, but
Chairman.
Okay, if that's everything, all right, we'll go to discussion. Well, let's see, no, we need to do citizens to be heard. We've got 3 citizens. Bill Anderson?
Would like to speak on the Panacea Corporation. You all 3 of you said that your conscience was basically cleared because this issue was going to come back from the legislature for the citizens to vote on. You put this on with no notice. You've done something working out over here a budget or whatever. I think you know when this comes back from the legislature, only those citizens that live in Panacea get to vote on it. I own lots there, I own property there, I own businesses there. They don't get to vote on this when it comes back. Now, if you don't live there as a resident, you can't vote. So if you own a lot there, a property, you've cut off all their right for discuss this. 2 of you say property rights are really paramount to you. And yet you put this on the ballot. You had no disclosure for whatever this is. It's $11 that now is it going to be on everybody's utility bills and everything else? And your conscience is clear because you're going to vote on it when it comes back to the legislature. Only if you're a citizen living there in Panacea do you get to vote on it. If you own property, if you own businesses, you can't vote. You all have cut off our rights. You've done something wrong.
Okay. Got Dana Peck?
Ditto again, but I'm still reeling from the fact that you would slip in such a complicated financial resolution that's going to affect every single person in this county and you would slip it in on the last meeting of the year as if that's okay. When you return in the new year, I hope one of your resolutions will be to do complicated business that's going to affect the pocketbooks of everybody with notice and with some discussion and with some preparation, instead of hearing that the people probably in this county who can least afford it are about to suffer another hit on their taxes with $11 added to their electricity bill. That's not why I wanted to speak here this evening, for citizens to be heard. But this is just something that is reeling. The word rogue commission comes to mind because a rogue commission just tramples over everybody. And I don't know why bother to meet. Just draw up your agenda and then do your vote and say, here we go. If this is the type of business that you're doing, it is shameful. It is shameful in the minds of lots of people. But I am here because of the Tupelo honey industry. One of the reasons the last commission voted unanimously to have protections for the wetlands buffers under local control was to help the historic Tupelo honey industry. I don't know if you know it, I didn't know it. I think one of you has long family ties with the Tupelo honey industry, but this is one of the few places in the world that produces Tupelo honey. And I think at the Planning and Commission meeting I mentioned this, and I gave a whole list of scientific research that says that human encroachment hurts the Tupelo honey industry. Taking the protections away from wetlands will hurt this industry. And then later at a meeting, I wasn't there, but I understand some of you commissioners had a happy time saying what nonsense that was, especially those with ties to the honey industry. So I like to see research and scientific fact and a little backup for the stuff that's said. I brought with me tonight, and I'll give it to you. This is a list of research from Florida State University. I think you've heard of them. And North Carolina and a whole lot of other places, Berkeley and California, that say human development in the swamplands that produce the Tupelo trees are killing the Tupelo honey industry. Now, the prices are going up because the demand's great, but it's going to hurt the supply. So I'll give this to the record for you all to look at should you get an urge to do some homework on the things you are voting on. Thank you.
Okay, next we got Chuck S.
For an uneventful meeting, it has turned into a very eventful one. First off, Commodore Commons. You know, this, I'm not sure how what your vision is of Crawfordville, of Wakulla County. Do you really envision to have all your businesses along and fronting on 319? Is this what you envision as a one strip mall going from Tallahassee to the coast? I mean, this is what you're directing all your traffic at, and I just don't understand how you can envision this as being good for the county. Here you had a place where you had the ability to have commercial businesses, making a town center where you have lots of things going on, and people could park and walk and do all the things that we want to have in a town center, and you just gave it away. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you come up with this incorporating Panacea, and it's important, and you don't advertise it ahead of time so that people know that it's going on. This, you know, I don't have any view on it right now because I haven't read the papers, but I still think you're messing up. You're really making mistakes when you put something this important forward, and don't put it out so the public can read it and comment on it. I guess Dana Peck said it. You're kind of rogue right now.
Rogue Richard.
All right. Randy? Got anything, Jerry?
Good to go.
All right, I want to respond to to what was said about Panacea and about asking if I had a clear conscience. I do have a total clear conscience on it because I've been there. You know, I mean, I've said before, I've served on it for 7 years before, and I've got it been there. I know exactly what it is they're seeking they're seeking to have. Now, as far as the franchise fee, in all this agreement, the city of Panacea is not intending on having an ad valorem tax. According to state law, if you don't have an ad valorem tax, you have to have a franchise fee equal to 1 mil if you don't have an ad valorem tax. Okay, and I made mention in a previous meeting, and I went back to verify my own light bill. You know, it's got 2 line items on there. It's got one that says municipal franchise fee, I think it's $10, and then another one that says municipal utility tax, $10.70. Those two combined makes up $20.70 a month. That impacts my bill, but I already know that. Okay, now it's up to Panacea to ultimately decide this. Now, it is up to Panacea, sir. I'm speaking, sir. Okay, it's up to Panacea to ultimately decide if they want to be a city. Now, okay, if someone lives in Leon County and they own a business in Wakulla, naturally they're not going to be able to vote on things in Wakulla, even though they own a business here. It's the same. There's citizens in both Sop Choppy and St. Mark's who own businesses inside the city limits, even though they don't live inside the city limits. State law won't allow anyone to vote within that city limits that doesn't physically reside there. The same way state law won't allow anybody to vote on a Wakulla County election that doesn't live here. Some things that this commission is being blamed for is things, and things that Panacea is being blamed for is things that's actually a matter of state law, but everyone's having to comply with. Okay, but I have a clear conscience on this. I do hope Panacea can one day become a city, and I support them. And I think the plan that's been presented is a reasonable plan. It's a workable plan that can come to the end. And also another reason that I'm very supportive of it is anyone that has spent time down there and seen what that waterfronts community can accomplish between all the festivals and all those things. Okay, that there's a group there in Panacea that if they had the ability to go after grants and they had the ability to do these things, I envision Panacea being one of our star attractions as time goes on if they're given the opportunity to govern themselves.
I'd add just a couple points on that about Panacea. I think we were told tonight that there's a deadline of December 18th that would be a showstopper for them to move forward. So this is, you know, ideal situation. Yes, it'd be nice to have a lot more time, but we're up against the clock there. Also, even more importantly, I don't want anyone to think that we're just rushing into that because of the clock, but we also have to fully negotiate the interlocal agreement. And so that's going to give ample opportunity to come back and readdress those things, and some of those things are certainly important. All this does is it gave us confidence that we can reach that. You know, at the workshop we held, we were too far apart. I wasn't comfortable with that, even though I was supportive of the idea. But now we've got to still work out that interlocal agreement and determine those terms. So, you know, the sky is not falling, and Chicken Little does not live in Panacea. There's ample time to come back and readdress those things, and so please come back and participate in that. Also, a couple other things. I'm the board appointee for the North Florida Broadband Authority. I'm planning on bringing back a recommendation. I don't know if you guys have seen, but that grant term, which was a $30 million grant to bring broadband to North Florida area, is now out of the grant phase. The North Florida Broadband is winding down, and they're actually in the process of turning their assets over to a private company. There will still be a North Florida Broadband, and the different counties will still have a representative seat on it. My recommendation that I'm going to bring back forward is Wakulla County pull out of that. And I don't think that there's enough benefit for us to stay involved in that. And so, you know, I'm just giving you that notice now that I'm planning on bringing that recommendation back, and you know, wish them well in the future. But it's basically transition into the private stage of that. So I don't think there's any reason for us to continue to invest our time and resources in that. Next item. I grew up in the community of Ivan. In case no one knows where that is, that's in the Whidden Lake Road area, Dollar General, in that area. Right now, part of the Crawfordville Town Plan goes to that road, to East Ivan Road. And so we've got a sign there now that says Crawfordville.
And that's good, that's proper based on what has been done, but it's almost, you know, kind of wiping out the community of Ivan as well. There's some overlap there, so it's giving the impression that that's where Crawfordville starts, and that's really where the Crawfordville town plan starts. What I'd like to do is just ask if you guys are interested, when we run into these situations, and this could be the first one, that we not lose the heritage of these small communities. You know, Smith Creek, there's some folks that think Smith Creek is part of Sop Choppy, but, you know, you're proud of the fact, not the people that live there, but you're proud of the fact that that's a separate community, as am I, and my community of Ivan the same way. I think it's important that we don't lose these communities, so what I'm recommending is maybe, you know, a historic sign, welcome to the historic community of Ivan, or have those borders, and we got to work it out with DOT, and I know that we got to work those details out. But
remember I brought up this about Green Lantern?
Green Lantern, yeah.
Some time ago.
Absolutely.
He got a kick out of that.
And I think it's important that we not lose that heritage, and so, you know, I'd like to see us, hopefully we can all agree that we need to preserve that as these opportunities come along. And so, you know, if we get a head nod, I'd like to see if we can maybe direct Louis to look into that, see what it would take with DOT to put those signs.
As long as it doesn't cost anything.
And I'm not proposing to make the city of Ivan. We're not going to incorporate Ivan. There's not enough to do that, but we don't want to lose those heritage communities.
I'm supportive of it.
Very good.
I'm not, until we have a plan of how many different signs we're going to be putting up. So I would like to see, if we were interested in going that direction, then let's make a list of all the sites that we think we want to acknowledge, and then let's see what it looks like, and then see if we want to go ahead.
So can we maybe submit those to Louis, if you've got some that you're interested in, and maybe...
Well, I have nothing right now.
Okay.
I mean, you know, what I'm saying is that instead of just rushing into things again, you know, we're supposed to be government. We're supposed to move a little slower than I think we're moving.
Yeah, I'm not putting us on the fast track. This is just first conversation.
My suggestion with Green Lantern was, if they wanted to get together in that community, similar to, what was it, Obadiah Triplet Road there, if they wanted to get together and designate their community, we would support it. Now, I'm not saying spend money on Green Lantern for a sign. If Gene or whoever lives over there wants to buy a sign, we'd say, hey, DOT, we support him putting this sign in there. No taxpayer dollars.
Right.
I agree with him.
Yeah.
We'll go along with
Okay.
it, but
Yeah.
not spend any money or give anybody special recognition.
I agree.
Okay.
And
Smith Creek happens to have a creek called Smith Creek, so it's pretty easy for us to get a sign that says Smith Creek, at least on one side anyway.
we've got an East Ivan Road.
side. Well, that's about as long as it takes.
And we've got an East Ivan Road, and we've got an Ivan Church Road. So I mean, it's a community that we don't want to just kind of brush over. But I agree with you as far as the cost. You know, this is more just symbolic of the heritage of that area.
If we rename the creek North Smith Creek, that would solve that problem, wouldn't it?
Well, I'm good under those conditions.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Last thing I have, Congressman Sutherland right now is seeking applications for interns. If anyone here or watching at home is interested in being an intern, now's the time. Follow up with Congressman Sutherland's office or go to his website, and there's some information there. That's all I have.
Okay, Howard.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have several items that are listed under discussion, and I have several more. So I'm just going to go through some of them briefly because we've been here for a while. But I've been getting calls, and I've also been spoken to person, especially in the northeast section of our county, with the trash cans that are rolled out, left out permanently by the road, and then bears or other things come along, strew the garbage all over the place, and the citizens are asking me whose responsibility is then to clean it up. And so there's two issues, and I spoke with Cleve about, you know, and then Cleve's on this as far as trying to get some help with bear-proof trash cans, and especially in the form of a grant, because a lot of people, it's a real hardship.
I thought that WastePro had to provide a bear. Well, there's two levels of bear proofness, because Ms. Arch championed this subject. There was one that they have to provide at no charge a bear something resistant.
Bear resistant.
Okay, bear resistant card at no charge to the citizen. Then if they wanted a bear proof card, that was a cost. But
Right, of course, and the so the bear proof card is the one that really works, and the other one gets opened up because our beers are not like your average beer.
They're smarter. They're
That's
smarter.
right.
We'll call
That's
it
right.
county beer.
They're from Lake Wobegon. So, anyway, I just bring this up to the board because as I go through this county, I'm hearing it, okay? And especially when the trash is strewn around, the people saying, listen, either put these things in bear-proof cans or get them back into the people's property so that when it gets messed up, it's the person that has to clean it up. So I'm just bringing it out there for your awareness, because I'm seeing it and hearing it. Then I had a discussion with the county administrator regarding what I was concerned about on the fire insurance rates, on the ISO ratings, with the problem we're having now with some of our stations being challenged as far as the volunteers. I hear there's a new diameter that we're about to have happen, an increase from 5 miles to 7-mile radius, so this will help some of those homeowners, but I think as we go forward, especially as we're approving projects, we want to pay some attention to the cost of insurance to the people in those areas.
I think there was some thought, just when the new fire station is going to be located, that's why the Trice Lane, I think, was one of the places, because it does get it closer to Wakulla Gardens inside that ISO. So I understand what you're talking
Okay. Couple of road issues, and then I'll get to animal control. Emily Lane, a road that the board voted in the past, 5-0 to pave. Citizens on that road have been very patient. The citizens that use that road to go through to Cooperwood, etc., they're less patient. They have to go a longer distance, and they start off with Emily. We've heard certain verbiage about no roads paved until this road or that road gets paved, but this is a road that's already been approved. I think we owe it to those citizens to get that road paved when the funds are there, as one of our first things that we do.
And I've talked to the same woman, bless her heart, but I've always said that, until we get that 1-cent sales tax renewed, our revenue source is pretty much obligated. And there are, as you, Dr. Kessler, know very well, there are a lot of roads that are on a list that have been promised to be paved. Now, that one, of course, I don't know if you know this or not, but I used to have Cleve's job. And when we envisioned paving Cooperwood and all that, that's why we put Emily Lane on there, because you could go Emily Lane to Cooperwood and all the way up to Bob Miller Road and bypass a lot of Old Shell Point Road. That's really why it made it on there. I think George Green put it on there in his last meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
George Green put it on. It was voted 5-0.
Yes.
I spoke to at least...
It's a good road to pave. It does have right away.
So the person that you spoke to, if it was on one side of the road, I've had at least 2 people on both sides of the roads now, so I get it from both sides of the road. And I've gotten it over the years. It's like this has been a few years now this thing has gone on. So I'm just asking the board to honor that vote of a prior board and when the funds are available to get Emily Lane done. And we keep on working on getting that connection through, just as you said, Cooperwood, back to Stanton and all the rest.
But not necessarily at the expense of other projects. Because, if you talk, I understand what you're saying. It's a short road. It's probably not a huge expense. The right-of-way's already there. It's already cleared. But we got to remember, if this room was full of Wakulla Gardens citizens that have been suffering through dust and everything. But I understand.
Yeah,
At least we have enough money to pay.
We have some funds available that we're going to be bringing to you, but it will not be on the January 6th meeting to discuss roads. But it will be coming in January or February.
Howard's right, that road is on the list and it's been there for years.
I got 3,000 people, or 4, in Wakulla Gardens that all they want is just a loop so they can get to it. I've said I don't want to see anything paved with county money until we can get to pave that loop road in Wakulla Gardens, because that will satisfy 2,000 or 3,000 people.
That's a long discussion.
Well, and you're right. But we're going to bring you guys some options, and then you can decide what you want to do.
Okay, before we go, I want to give Howard a chance to talk about the other things you have to say.
I hope so. So, 2 more roads, or road and subdivisions, or whatever you want to call them, Powell Road, and the Eastgate subdivision. These are dirt roads. They're problematic, especially Eastgate.
Is Powell the one across from the River Sink Elementary School up there on Lonnie Raker?
No.
That's not the one we've been talking. Okay.
No.
Sorry.
Okay. But especially Eastgate, you know, we've set a precedent of being able to go in there and start grading. Things get relayed to the right-of-ways. But one of the questions I've had from at least one of the citizens, and this was one concerned about Powell Road, is getting the county road up to standard for the county to take it over. In that Summer Wind subdivision, there was a situation of having to mill down karst stone.
I think we should follow that precedent, by the way. Whatever we did for them, that should be the standard. They didn't have to bring their road up to standard.
So we did that for them?
Yes,
okay.
correct.
And then that was what the citizens wanted clarified.
That's right. After though, they gave us
They
the
did all the legwork.
Right. Once they get the right-of-way, we'll bring it up to standard for grading.
Well,
okay.
Let me take that back. I don't want to say we'll bring up the standard. What the county did was go in there and maintain the road to make it passable. They didn't go in and clear the right-of-way, grade the road up.
Just so that they can continue grading it.
Maintaining the road at least at its current standard and maybe a little better was what they did.
But that was sort of a one-time thing, I hope. I mean, I would caution you from taking a lot of roads that aren't up to your minimum standards from a liability standpoint.
If it has right-of-way, I agree with Heather saying if it's a pig trail, but if it has platted right-of-way that's just a private road, let's take Brook Forest, for example, 60-foot of right-of-way, and even if it was dirt, Khalif can tell you this, I always battled in the past taking over, but if they're willing to take the initiative to donate 50 or 60 feet of right-of-way and go through all the hassle, I'm willing to go ahead and go in there and maintain the road, personally.
Okay, well, just wanted to get a sense of that. Okay, I'm going to come back to one more intersection, but I'm going to go on to animal control, I think, right now. And so this is my opinion, this is my perception, and it appears to me that this administration has parted from the policy that has been in place for more than a decade for animal control. Animal control was never intended to be an adoption facility. It appears that Wakulla County has taken on a mission of an adoption center without board approval, and that concerns me on several levels. First, a policy change without obtaining board direction is of concern to me. Animal control was set up to be animal control, handling problems of stray dogs and cats, escaped dogs and cats, injured dogs and cats, dead animals. That's what animal control historically has been involved with. All for the health and safety and welfare of the county's citizens. And animal adoption was not its mission. Second of my concerns is that animal adoptions opens up increased liability for the county. If our county is engaged in adoption of animals, it assumes a greater liability than the liability imposed from just the duties of pure animal control. Our county must be certain that it is performing within the requirements of the Florida state statute and that all the animals that leave the animal control center are getting spayed and neutered. And that's a question that I have now. Is the county keeping records of what is happening to those animals after they are released from animal control? How are we to deal with unadoptable animals? How, when we release animals to rescues and other shelters, what obligations do we carry as that animal progresses from those shelters? And Wakulla County may be held accountable and have a liability for animals that it sends out. There's an obligation to track and keep records of animals that are sent from our county animal control to other county rescues. Are those animals being successfully adopted, or are they being euthanized? Are they healthy when adopted, or are there problems? Proper follow-up and record keeping is expensive, and it relates to adoption activities. The third concern is the increased costs for the county. My view, I estimate, it's going to cost the county to continue on this path anywhere from $30,000 to more than $100,000 annually if the county wants to continue to act as an adoption center. And the increased costs come from transportation, staffing, and increased support service. Prior constitutional officers and administrators recognized that having a responsible and independent adoption center separate from our county, benefited the county. And they also recognized that it was not in the county's best interest to act as an adoption center. So I've put information in front of you before. It still remains a concern, and especially with the changing tides that we see right now. So I just bring that up for the board awareness. There's an intersection that's been approved for funding, I think, 319 and 98.
It's in the long-term plan, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, some years back, I went up to DOT, and my concern there, and we're talking about MedArt, where 319 hits 98. And the plan that the state came up with was to move this 319 as it presently exists, move it to the east, and have it come into 98 right in front of the high school. The majority of the traffic that travels that intersection, coming south on 319, the majority, great majority, turns to the west. The majority coming from the west to the east turns before they get to the high school. Most communities do not want to put more traffic in front of a school. When I spoke to DOT, now this is when I was commissioner back, so it's prior to 2010, they had already drawn up the plans. And I said, well, why are you going ahead and doing this? And they said, well, we only have one property owner to deal with if we move it that way to the east in front of the school. And that property owner is going to give us the property. And if we move it or realign it where it is or slightly to the west, we have to deal with 6 property owners. Well, for me, the issue of safety and this, you know, for our students, it should be paramount. It should be the most important thing, not whether you have to deal with one person or whether you have to deal with 6 people. And I know our traffic safety committee is supportive of this. I personally think it's wrong. They say they're going to have a light there, a traffic light. Well, you can have a traffic light there without dumping the majority of your traffic in front of a school. So I don't know how it proceeds from here, but I just want the board and the community to know that this is not something that I, as a commissioner or as a individual citizen, I'm not in favor of this, and I think that when we have our first tragedy there, we'll all feel very bad. I think this is bad. So I just want to bring that up again, board awareness. And I'll end with the last thing is, I too would echo the voices of some of our citizens. I think it was wrong what we did tonight at the very last moment, putting things on the agenda like that. I think we really have to try to not have that happen again. You know, whether it's controversial or not, the citizens have the right, to have the opportunity to know what's going on and to be informed that this is maybe a meeting they want to attend. And I don't think we did that properly for them. I think also, and I'll end and say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, I think we should do a little better job of fleshing out the agenda so that the average citizen might understand a little bit of what the item is about without having to go and do research on it.
Well, unfortunately, Howard I was waiting to the very end there, but you kind of took it from me. This is our last meeting of the year, and I just want to tell our viewing audience and those out on TV, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, and try to forget about politics for at least a little while. Howard beat me to it, as usual.
I want to say the same thing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and go Knowles.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion. Second.
Second.
Yeah. Done.